Everyone, welcome back to another week of DZG League of Legends as DZG Elysium takes on Dynasty Jade. Once again, I'm joined by Silent Elements. Silent, how you doing today, man?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing damn well. As we are already into the draft, DZG Elysium decides to take a Lowy, answered by a Rel, and we're back to DZG's ban. And Silent, what are some of the big things that you're looking at in this draft here today?
Well, to be honest, both these teams are really familiar with each other. They actually had a chance to scrim against each other previously, I think about a month ago. And DZG did manage to come away with 2 wins, but it took all 3 games for that to happen. So these teams are obviously feeling each other out again. Just it's the same players, but they just want to make sure that the bans are the most optimal bans in terms of what people one trick, what people are familiar with, what the threats are on both sides.
Understood, understood. As we get the 80 carry bands coming in here, and Sivir looks like she's going to be joining the chopping block now. Just kidding. It's a Tristana and then a Jarvan. Silent DZG on the blue side. I know that both you and I at least have preferred red side games in the past. How are you feeling about the first pick priority, and what are you expecting to see come in first here?
I expect something like a flex, maybe a Renekton pick here, simply because they want to make sure they don't give away too much while still giving, obviously, a champion that, can be blinded.
Well, the Nyla ban does make sense. It's not something we see too often, as we have seen Dynasty Jade pick up wins with that before. The Ziggs pick was also the flex that I personally had in mind coming in here, but it looks like Dynasty Jade has sussed this out. Credit to you saying, yeah, these teams know each other, as DZG first picked the Sejuani of all things.
Yeah, and from conversations, maybe this jungler isn't quite comfortable on doing these smite fights, so it's interesting that we would pick Sejuani so early.
Well, it's going to be the tried and true Sejuani counter coming in here for the Trundle, and now it's going to be really interesting to see what the next counter pick is going to be. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, things may have changed since I've played last, but this could also change up Sejuani's complete rune choices here with the Subjugate coming in from the Trundle. So, are you expecting any adaptations to come in just off the bat from this first pick in the Sejuani?
Well, the Sejuani is still a flex, so it can still potentially go in other places. So that Trundle might not be answering what he thinks he's answering.
Fair enough, as we saw the hover actually come in from, or for the Sivir ban from the side of Dynasty Jade, so it seems like there's a lot of priority there for them to deny that. And kind of showing their cards real early with a Gwen pick there, and I feel like that really mitigates a lot of your flex potential later on in the draft, unless that was an accident. I'll go ahead and check now in the chat, and I'm not seeing anything to counter it, so looks like we have Sejuani Gwen for the side of DZG.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a flex. I mean, Gwen has been seen in the jungle lately. It's not the best pick in my opinion, but it's still an option.
Well, it looks like they just copy pasted Gwen's face onto a different champion, and Zeri gets locked in here. I've actually never realized how kind of like similar their face are. But Zeri joins the board here as it's now time for Dynasty Jade's last pick. Imagine probably a support coming in here, so they don't show too many of their cards, or maybe they go with a mid pick and double ban. Lots of options here, and it's an Urgot, so top pick coming in for the side of Dynasty Jade.
Well, to be honest, that kind of makes sense. They targeted Feathers and Furs Alawi, so the Urgot was a nice comfort pick, especially if you don't want to play Ornn in this game. So, but I feel like Aloha is very familiar with Feathers and Fur, so I think this is going to be a comfortable matchup. I would be 100% surprised if I did not see them expecting this Urgot to be picked.
Well, Braum joins the band table, followed by a victor of all things. Two more bands to go. And it's shaping up to be an interesting draft. We had the Sejuani Gwenzeri with the Trundle Sivir Urgot. What things are you really looking for to come in to round out each individual team comp so far?
I see DZG focusing the bans on the Rendelman, the mid lane. That Victor was one of the champions picked during the scrim that Rendelman did really well on. You can see them targeting water since they don't know where the flex is going for the the rest of the champions. Um, I'm not really quite sure because I haven't seen this Zeri played. So it's gonna be interesting to see how DZG plays this out with rounding out the rest of this draft.
Yeah, if only you could question mark ping in draft. That would actually be really satisfying. Just like ping the enemy team during draft. Well, we're also in draft rule, so that kind of takes away that a little bit. But still, interesting concept. Riot, I know you're not listening to this stream, but that wouldn't be a bad idea. Syndra joins the ban table now, so 2 mid lane bans, 2 support bans. We're gonna probably have a mid lane pick here, or they're just holding on for the flex with a lot of the priority. There's a lot of question marks here. I hate saving support pick for last, as it's going to be an Alistair. So it was the support pick, and yeah, just really abusive engage tool there from the side of Dynasty Jade.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great pick because it doesn't add shields, which in the bot lane with the versus a Zeri, that Zeri can take advantage of. So having that Alistar and a Sivir combined, I think it's a great two options for their bot lane to face that Zeri.
Well, DZG opted instead for a zoom tool as they pick up the Janna, giving themselves a little bit of speed to match the impossible goal of matching Sivir's speed. And the last pick coming in here has to be one of the solo laners, you would imagine, as we have 8 seconds left. And yeah, with the okay, there it is, Nico again. So you get to hopefully see some of your Nico shenanigans, and hopefully it doesn't confuse the ever loving hell out of me.
Well, what would you counter Nico with if you were playing mid?
Galio, normally, I feel like I really like the Galio pick into things. Just the shielding and everything else, but with their team comp, it kind of really wouldn't work out too well. They really don't have a lot of AP power here. They did lose 2 control mages, and I feel like that's kind of really what they need to bring in here. And there it is. There's going to be the control mage pick in the form of Talia. So, not a terrible answer. Seismic shoves are going to have to be very important, but it's going to be very hard to land them defensively just due to Nico using her little invisible shenanigan bullshit. So it's definitely going to be interesting to keep an eye on. Um, so we see it now, and I think this should be enough for us to kind of lock in where everybody's going here, Silent. I'd imagine that's going to be a Gwen in the top lane, Sejuani in the jungle that could still be flexed, Nico in the mid lane with a Zeri Janna bot lane. And for the side of Dynasty Jade, I imagine that we're going to go ahead and have ourselves an Urgot in the top lane, Trundle in the jungle, Talia mid with a Sivir Alistair bot lane. We theoretically know everything and where everything's going. We're heading into the in-game pick bans right now. And Silent, how do you feel about how draft went for either side?
I think this is a really balanced draft. I still give a slight edge to Dynasty J just because they have a lot more range. But I feel like the biggest thing that's going to decide this game is going to be how the mid lane matchup is. Will Nico win? Will Talia win? I think where that lane goes is exactly the direction that the game is going to go.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about the draft enough. One quick final comment from that, Silent. Who do you give the overall win to?
I'm siding with Dynasty J just because of the range. Simply Ziri, Gwen, Nico, they don't really provide range, whereas Sivir, Talia, and especially the tanks with Urgot, Alistar, and Trundle, it's just ease of execution in my opinion. But that's me. What about you?
I'm inclined to agree. I think there's a lot of elements and tools that make the Dynasty Jade side easier to pull off, like you mentioned. But I definitely think there's a lot of tools for DZG to be creative and really kind of get some synergistic uh, damage potentials out there to really smash the game open. Now it's going to be a matter of who pilots it, and we'll see how that goes. But I think the ultimate important thing that we want to talk about here is bingo. Let's bring up the bingo sheet. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be keeping our eyes on the bingo sheet today. And if any team, or I'm sorry, if we do get bingo in any sorry, words are hard, we'll go ahead and give away 5 subs to anybody in the chat. So keep an eye on the bingo sheets. Make sure you take note if I miss anything and yell at me. And otherwise, we'll definitely be playing the mini game inside of the game of League of Legends today. Any further comments before we head into our lovely spectator delay here, Silent?
Nope, I think we're just in for an exciting game, and I hopefully it's not as one-sided as last week was.
I hope so too. I'm hoping for plenty of action. That way, it makes my job real easy and I don't have to fill an awkward silence. But, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of awkward silence, we're going to go ahead and throw you over to some Spotify tunes as we head into Spectator Delay. take to the Rift. Not seeing anything too crazy here, just simple 5-man fan outs. And also that carries over into our summoner spells. Gwen doing the traditional ghost teleport there with spread. And we have Ghost and Barrier in the bot lane, as we're just seeing a little bit of a dance battle maybe between Technics and Singular Bread. Silent, what are you really thinking for this game as a little bit of trading pattern? Oh man, that is so much going in there. The Jana knockup mixed with the Pop Blossom there coming in for a decent amount of damage. But Silent, what are you really looking for here in the early game?
Well, honestly, while we were in the break, you did mention if whether or not Sejuani would do a change of runes. There is that phase rush, so I believe the secondary might be either inspiration or precision. It looks like there is no ceasefire. All nice truce that the two teams had are no longer. Both definitely seems to be taking advantage of that mid lane. So I don't think we'll see that in the second round. But as I mentioned, I think we're gonna see potentially focus on top lane as well as mid lane. I feel like bot lane is just going to be kind of shove until one of the lanes gets to level 6.
And a little bit of shenanigans in the chat. Great points all around, but apparently Trundle was not happy about it. He said reported, and Technics was like, I'm not gonna, I didn't see him, not gonna lie. So a little bit of BN there coming from the mid and support on the side of DZG, but it's competitive. You shouldn't have dance battles, but it is what it is, as everything's going to be kind of getting situated here. And I know that you really wanted to take a look on how this area was going to perform this game. And kind of, just not seeing it. We talked about some of the range discrepancies here in the Sivir versus the Zeri as well. Is this going to be an area where you're going to be paying a lot of your focus this game here, Silent?
Honestly, as I mentioned, my focus is going to be mainly on the mid lane. I feel like it will definitely make or break. I feel like bot lane is going to be more of a trade fest, but I don't think that there's going to be much in terms of kills coming from this lane, just because both lanes have an easy way of disengaging. I think there's going to be a lot of skirmishing, but I don't think necessarily it's going to lead to kills potentially.
We're seeing a lot of trading patterns here go back and forth, and pretty much as you said, the disengage patterns are coming in pretty strong. Supports are getting chunked out really low, and I never know if it's worth getting hyped for. It's like, oh no, stuff's happening, and then immediately it fizzles out. So if something happens, somebody gets first blood, and I was caught lacking, it's probably because I 100% just didn't expect it to happen. As Water and Illicit both here chugging some health potions. I think both of them are out. John has access to the biscuits here, so that's going to be a little bit of a boon for them. First Drake looks like we're going to have an Ocean coming up in a minute 40, and that's always a feels good for your laners.
Yeah, and both bot lanes opted for the cull, so I don't. Honestly, there is no damage down there, so we should really see focus on the mid and top lane from the junglers.
Well, teleport being channeled back from Talia coming into the mid lane. Rindleman having to use that one early, so it's going to be a slight nod to DZG. As Went picked up a Tear of the Goddess, so going to be stacking some of that mana there for the Talia. And Derek's just doing what they want to do, farming up a little bit there on the Nico. Has 0 mana now. As Technics is coming in to sneak into this bot lane rush here. Has access to the red buff, but the Tornado is a little bit of a desync there. Technics moving forward, looks to tag one to somebody. That's going to be a flash out of Illicit Raven here, but I think other than the Summoner spell, that's going to be all that Technics gets.
I mean, to be fair, it looked like the only lane he could gank, with top lane pushed all the way in, bot lane being somewhat even, especially with the trade. It did work out, but I still think that he probably could have just continued clearing and gone the more efficient path, as it looks like Trundle has got both scuttles.
Yeah, the only thing that was available to him was that Scuttle Crab. A lot of trading pattern coming out here to Derek, looking for it to go more, but that's not going to be the real Nico as the clone moves forward, and Rindleman's going to be safe for now. As Derek is not sitting on a lot of mana, has enough for maybe one spell. There was a gank attempt up in the top lane there, but nothing came out of that, as DZG is down at a 200 gold deficit despite, just the pressure going in their favor. The side of Dynasty Jade has been farming a little bit better in the mid lane and in the jungle, like you mentioned. The double scuttle there really actually paying a little bit of dividends there and in very minutiae gains.
Yeah, and as we're looking at this, I think this Nico has been doing a great job in terms of managing their poke. So Talia hasn't really had that option, but I mean Talia really makes more impacts once she reaches level 6 on the rest of the map. So this might just be a for now early lane phase, but maybe later we'll see something different from this Talia.
Well, right now it's dreadfully boring, which, my throat appreciates, but the game itself does not, as it's going to be a crash into this wave. Raptor and Water have to now farm under tower, and man, what an exciting game in League of Legends. As trading patterns going up into the top lane, both top laners have access to their ultimates now, and we're seeing a little bit of it going forward now. Technics getting chunked out pretty hard by Rindleman, who is getting a Dark Harvest stack, but the Dark Harvest stack might just be the most exciting part of this game so far.
Yeah, but it gives a little bit more awareness for that Trundle. Yeah, he knows that Sejuani is chunked. She's probably on Krugs now because of the pathing of the way after clearing the ward, and it looks like a free chance to get this Drake.
Well, your crystal ball definitely doing its work there as they do ping onto it, and it does look like they are hardcore setting up for it. Now, Raptor and Water are moving up to clear out a little bit of vision that was just sitting on their control ward. It does not look like they're going to be starting that just now, as Trundle looks like he is on his Gromp. And mid lane just kind of trading out still. Sejuani took the recall. If they want to go for it, now's the time. And Spread is teleporting back into the top lane. It does look like the dragon has not been started. I thought I saw its wing animation there. Trundle's just hardcore hovering it, and Sejuani's going into the top side.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably waiting for Rendleman to get back to mid lane as the Nico is posturing, but
A little bit of fighting here. I don't think anything's going to happen as Water's taken to about half. Photography is going to be fighting Toxic Koopa, and that's going to fizzle out as well. So nothing really happening. Just kind of like you expected. It's going to be a little bit of a poke battle. Disengage easily enough as Raptor look to try to be aggressive. And I think first plate's going to fall soon. I don't know if anybody... Yeah, nobody got that one. So I think they were outside of the range for that.
yeah, I think Dynasty lost a little bit of the tempo when he just opted for that Gromp first instead of doing the Drake while both bot lane was pushed and as well as the mid lane. But now we're looking at an option for Sejuani to try to trade something on the top side while knowing that most likely Trundle is on the Drake.
One the Drake indeed, as Water is taking those boomerang blades to the face. Urgot is... He's being hovered, but it looks like Technics was just waiting for the Rift Herald to spawn and going for that one right now. A little bit of trading patterns in the mid lane, and 8 minutes in a gold platinum game, and no kills. This is unusual.
I mean, both teams are very familiar with each other, so I feel like they're definitely playing the cautious route so that no team really snowballs. But I mean, we are seeing this Rift take on the top side. There is potentially a rotation due to the fact that Nico is not there. Well, with the TP, she is there, but they already managed to grid it. Where do you think that this Rift is going to get used?
Normally 9 times out of 10, I'd say try to drop it into the mid lane and accelerate your mid lane, especially since you have a Talia to kind of counter in this game. You want to really deny her the side lane access with the ultimate and really keep her pressured in the mid lane. However, top lane I feel is ultimately a decent option too if you're able to accelerate Gwen's side lane presence, but ultimately it's going to be a story of where the cards feel most right, and at this moment it's a question mark ping in all 3 lanes. If anything happens to kind of tilt the game state a little bit, then it completely changes the answer. Illicit going in, looking to get on top of Raptor there. We'll get the stun, but the trading pattern going back out, and Illicit taken to half. And story as old as this game is, just these trading patterns kind of setting up and then falling short. Technics is going to be down here in the tri-bush. There is vision in that river brush right there, so don't know if they're going to be able to get anything. Has access to the Sejuani ultimate. Could be a little fun here. Moving up now, but there is vision in that lane bush right there. I don't think we're going to get anything fun, as Rendleman is down here actually, Raptor taking real low, Talia ultimate going through, and it's going to actually just be Raptor going over the wall. Now Sejuani's in the front line here, looking to be taking a lot of this aggression, stunned up, Technic's taking a lot of damage, Singular's going to go forward, Jono Tempest coming in and will disengage things further. I thought I was going to have some excitement, but yet again, disengage, as nothing happens.
I'm not quite sure why Trundle decided to flash after the Sejuani. I think honestly the trade could have just gone simple if let the Sejuani flash and just call it a day, because essentially you want your flash as Trundle, and I don't think it benefits it to try to. There was no chance of killing that Sejuani in that situation.
Absolutely, and didn't really talk about it too much aside from, just Sejuani being forced to adapt her build a little bit, not picking up the Aftershock. And I'll be honest with you, going through draft, I was like, please tell me Aftershock is still a thing. Like, I'm not sure anymore. But with that being said, there's not really a great option aside from the Sejuani for the Subjugate. And even if you do land Subjugate on her, it's still a Sejuani. She doesn't have access to the Aftershock to really just make her instantly squishy. So you don't really have a prime target there for the Subjugate. It's a great counter pick, but I feel like you needed to see more before you locked that one in. As, the play completely fizzled out. Trundle without a flash is probably, 40% less of a champion, so it's going to be a little rough for Singular to look for anything in the next 6 minutes for sure. I mean, Pillar's great, but being a melee champion with no other way to catch up to somebody, and it's not like your lanes are going to be helping out too terribly much, at least in top and mid. So
yeah, and with the fact that there's about 2 minutes left before the plates start coming off, we are seeing Technics show up top lane, so it does look like he will utilize his Rift in top lane.
100% a good option in my opinion. I feel like accelerating the Gwen a little bit in some sort of way, getting rid of gold. Unfortunately, Gwen has not really had time to do anything onto that tower by herself, as Urgot's going to go forward here, deal a little bit of damage, and oh man, the trade damage coming out there is going to be pretty big. You have to imagine Technics is going to look for this, but we do know that Talio's roaming up. Hopefully that was communicated from the side of DZG. Rendleman coming up here, Feathers taking low, but not enough to go boom, as DZG don't really actually send Nico up to match. Looks like Nico is hanging around. I am not sure where right now. As somebody messaged me in Discord and overtook my minimap. So, yeah, it's going to be kind of just a interesting holding pattern here, as nothing really happens more with that top lane, and the trading pattern, or answer rather, in the bot lane. It's going to be 2 plates rather, for the side of DZG. Derek is now going to be focused on Singular Bread here in the mid lane, trying to get on top, but I think he should be able to just walk this one out. Seismic Shove has to be flashed, and Derek had to get out of that one for sure.
Yeah, I think with that flash, and especially with you seeing Feathers and Fur rotate downwards, there is a focus on the second Drake from Dynasty.
Absolutely, and now I don't think DZG are going to be able to contest this one. Gwen's going back to the top side of the map. Sejuani's in the top side jungle, so it's going to be a free Drake coming here. 2 quick pickups for that for the side of Dynasty Jade here. Oh, Water's taking a lot of damage. And even with the Herald dropped in the top side of the map, DZG lost so much pressure on the bot side of the map that the game state's still dead even with 2 Drakes going into the pocket of Dynasty. So far, definitely a big debut, in my personal opinion, for the side of Dynasty Jade in this early game silent.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Feathers and Fur didn't even try to force his TP, though he had it, and just is still able to make that macro map play in case there is an option for that ward in bot lane to TP down bot still. It's unfortunate that Gwen did not have the opportunity to shove the lane even harder, so that she could get more plates and maybe force her got to TP so to take away a weapon. But it looks like that's just gonna be it's just gonna be a waiting game. I mean, it's still 0-0 at 14 minutes, so I feel like both sides are playing rather cautious.
Well, we're getting a little bit of an interesting adaptation here. We know that the Herald is going to be the next objective on the map. So the side of Dynasty Jade is actually sending Urgot into the bot lane now, as Gwen, I don't think, will be able to take that last tower plate, well, last tower itself. I stand corrected. She was able to get that. And it's going to be bot going to mid. mid going to top, and top going to bot for the side of Dynasty Jade, and DZG did not answer this in time, as we do see pings going out onto the Rift Herald, and you have to think it's going to be started soon, as both DZG bot laners are going to be recalling, and Sejuani is in the bot lane. We're seeing the pings go off. I think that objective has been started up, and I don't think DZG are going to be in here in time to answer. They might just look to go in on Urgot. Sejuani is in the bush behind him now. It's going to be a really rough dive here if they want to pull this one off silent.
I mean, he does have his MR boots, so potentially he is prepared to be here.
They are going for it now. Technics is going to be the one focused up. Urgot has access to the ultimate, I still believe. Is he going to fire it off? And has... Did he shoot that in the wrong direction?
I'm not quite sure.
I saw it. I saw he had it, and then I saw it go on cooldown, and I saw what I think was a line shooting down towards bot side of the map. So, real big, scary moment for the side of DZG. If that connected, that would have 100% been first blood over to the side of Feathers. DZG picking up a 1.4k gold lead here with taking that first tower in the top side. The dive not really working out for him in the bot side. But it will be Herald dropped, I do believe, in the mid lane is where that was ultimately pulled out. But Derek was able to defend that, so a lot going on there. And still, once again, scoreboard sitting at 0-0, 16 minutes into this game.
Yeah, I feel like that second rift was kind of a bait. They utilized it immediately. Didn't really get anything out of it other than a weakened mid turret, but it does look like they're just kind of lowering every turret and kind of trying to get an opportunity to collect them all later on.
So we talked about the early game win going over to the side of Dynasty Jade. I still feel like that's the case despite the 600 gold deficit here, but this gentleman's handshake of we're only gonna play fight, it seems like it's like exhibition matches and UFC, like nobody's really taking these too seriously. Who do you feel benefits most from this slow early to mid game transitioning into the mid game now here, Silent? Do you really feel like the scaling is there for either side? You know, the 400 CS win condition for Sivir, or you know the damage potentials of Nico Zeri. What are you really feeling here?
I feel like the longer this game plays out, the more it's in favor of DZG, simply because that Gwen with items can be a complete split push threat. Nico can kind of get to the point where she's going to start one-shotting people, whereas Sivir kind of, in my opinion, she just basically pushes waves out. So she's not essentially a hard damage carry versus, you know, Zeri, where she just goes all in, uses her ult, and kind of completely punishes. So I really see this as an opportunity for DZG to kind of make this game a little bit longer, but actually carry it out with a clear win if they scale appropriately.
That missed by like 25% of a Teemo there on to Talia there from the Nico throwing out the stun. We did see in the chat that Technics pinged the Drake like 16 times, so I think DZG are tired of unanswering these. Technics looking forward does not throw the ultimate out, as we're seeing just a 3-man kind of NA ram here in the mid lane. And Drake coming up in 20 seconds. I'm hoping for a good fight here, Silent.
Yeah, you see that Talia has already roamed towards mid, and Nico is completely lost on where that Talia could be. Trundle does not want to be here.
Well, Singular's a little bit of a tough spot here now as the side of DZG looking to fight this. Gwen ultimate goes out, but Gwen's being taken real low. Nico goes up, big 4-man ultimate here coming down from the side of DZG. Feathers is now going to be in there. First blood goes down. That's going to be John and Nico following. Sivir is taken down in response. DZG, it looked great in the beginning, but it's now looking like Doom and Gloom. Technics is going to be taking a lot of damage here. Raptor now is going to be the only one really doing anything here for the side of DZG, but you have to think they fall next. They do. Riddleman gets the pickup on that. Technics is the only one left from the side of DZG, and you have to wonder how that looks so damn good, but went so damn bad.
I really think the two Drakes early, especially the Ocean and Infernal, gave slight stat padding over to Dynasty and just made it so much harder for it to be an even fight.
Now, from the side of DZG, that also has a huge mental effect. How do you land everything? It looks so promising, and just goes bad. Like I said, 2 times now. Like, that has to play on your now probably some sort of like innate fear of not wanting to take fights in the future. I'm hoping that's not the case, but despite that going as bad as it did, only a 1k gold lead for the side of Dynasty Jade now, but they do sit in Soul Point.
I do agree where there comes a fear of wanting to fight, but technically DZG doesn't have to opt for that. They have that potential of doing that macro split push. Zeri can easily push out waves. Nico can easily clear out waves. As long as that Gwen has that support of, the map vision of knowing where and who she's gonna face, I don't really know who the Dynasty would want to rotate over to face that Gwen once she gets her items.
Well, one boon for the side of Dynasty Jade that we were talking about going into this late game, mid to late game, is the fact that, they could just instantly be deleted off the face of the map. A Mountain Soul would really help them in that, or with that, and it's going to be up in about 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Nash has joined the table, and DZG just have not been looking great when it comes to in terms of objectives, not only this game, but in games prior, so... definitely some real opportunities for Dynasty to look to accelerate this game and get themselves big advantages as we are starting to head more into that mid to late game kind of avenue here. Silent, what are some of the big things that you're going to be looking for in terms of lane state?
Honestly, instead of lane state, I'm looking at the vision control. As we're seeing, Dynasty is taking the opportunity to kind of bring everyone, if they need everyone, to kind of get this vision control, whereas DZG is kind of taking that opportunity to kind of walk to the objective as it's spawning and saying, hey, we should put some wards down. And unfortunately, the other team is already ready.
I meant to say game state, so good catch on that. As things are kind of fizzling out yet again, we've gotten one good fight, 21 minutes in, 5 kills, so my innate desire for bloodshed is raging strong here. It's probably the ginger in me, if I'm being honest here, Silent.
I could see that, but I mean, Dynasty's playing the macro game perfectly so far, in my opinion. They're opting for every objective that they want, they've gotten. Unfortunately for the other side, it hasn't happened the same way. We are seeing, though, the Talia match the Nico at the bot side. It hasn't gone well during lane phase, so I'm surprised they're opting for it now.
Well, Illicit and Singular are in the top side of the jungle now, and DZG are trying to run them off. I don't think anything's going to come of this, as Trundle's fairly tanky, but we're seeing some skirmishing now going here, and it's going to be Technics taking a lot of damage. Gwen going immediately in the backline and then stunned up, and then absolutely, it looks deleted, yes. Took a little bit there, but the damage came through. Now, Raptor being saved by the John ultimate. It's going to be Nico coming in over the top line again and not really delivering too much. The ultimate hit, but nothing really there to follow up. Garrick falls next as Toxic Koopa picks up that kill, and now DZG are running out of their own top line jungle. Talia going forward will pick up Zeri there. As just kidding, it was actually Sivir that picked it up. Now it's going to be Sejuani falling as well. DZG, like, they had all the right looks again, but just it fell short. There is something missing here. Gwen going in way too early, just being focused down, and it's not looking good. As this is going to be Baron falling, respawn timers are now sitting in 20 seconds. DZG will be able to get on the map. They're getting the right lane state or game state control to get down to the dragon. It's going to be one hell of a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, they might even have to sack this last one, even though it is Earth Soul. I just don't think it's honestly worth it. At this rate, they're just losing every team fight. There's just a miscommunication, as well as just planning for these fights. I mean, Gwen definitely, I feel like she got baited a little bit by the Sejuani still running in, and then as soon as Sejuani was like, oh, I see more people, I'm getting out of here. And so Gwen popped over and said, oh, well, I'm facing the 3 now.
Yeah, and props to Dynasty. There was zero hesitation. They saw what they needed to do, and they pulled it off. Their damage targeting has been perfect in this game as well in these fights. They're killing who they need to kill, and they're dealing with, the absolute chaos factor very well. They have a Nico blowing up in the middle of their team fight. They don't care. They handle it well. They focus Gwen first. They focus on the Nico, and then they worry about picking everybody else after. And it looks like all of the side of Dynasty Jade, in these team fights at least, are on the same page. And so far, yes, it has been a very slow game in the more early stages, but Dynasty Jade are doing everything they need to do, and we are definitely going to see a fight as Dragon is now back on the board. Rendleman's going to be taking a lot of damage, has to flash over the wall, will still get stunned. Gwen missed the ultimate there, but Rendleman is still in trouble, does not have access to the flash, is getting stunned, and is getting killed. Spread picks up that kill. Now it's going to be a fight over here as Toxic Koopa is on a rampage, picked up Zeri on the other side. Technics is now taking a lot of damage, does not have Aftershock to keep himself survivable. Spread is now trying to fight in the middle of the team fight, but has been left alone yet again. Singular on a killing spree. DZG don't have a AD carry. DZG don't have a top lane, and all that Dynasty are missing is a mid lane, and they say Drake is out.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that they lost the fight right before dragon spawning. We are seeing in the Twitch chat that they are talking regarding Nico's build. Honestly, with the way that she had that lead early, she really went really passive with the rest of her build with going for this.
Oh, the turns have tabled here as it was Technics going into the pit and was able to steal away that objective. So the objective bounty going in and DZG stealing that Drake have given themselves a little bit of breather room. Sorry to cut you off, but if you know anything about Technics and Smites lately, that is absolutely massive for the side of DZG.
Yeah, and it's the confidence that he had to go in and try to get that smite. It does make this game a little bit longer, but I mean, it's still there's still a little gloom in the skies at the moment, or rather a lot. And so right now, as I mentioned, Nico doesn't really have a damage profile with her aiming for that Zonia, the Hextech Proto Belt. She isn't really going to do anything in these fights other than CC, so it's really dependent on this Ziri doing damage, and she's just finished her second item. Gwen potentially has been put out in these awkward fights. I'm not quite sure why she opted to use that ult when Trundle just wants to run away. Um, I don't know. I think it's just been poor macro by DZG, and somewhat of the build as well.
It's honestly, for the first little bit of the game, it wasn't really that terrible with macros. Some of the map rotations were definitely superior from the side of Dynasty here, but like these team fights, literally back to back to back, is just not going in their favor. And whether that's the itemization causing them to fall up short, but you know, it looks like this Nico needs a pool party skin because all she's doing is smacking him with a wet noodle. Like it's doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I've really enjoyed Dynasty's macro so far. I mean, even if you looked at that last fight right before the Drake, yes, they picked Rendleman, but then why make that fight even longer? That your team is meant for picks, and then that miscommunication that led Gwen into the fight again by herself, it's just leaving a teammate behind. If you're not gonna do it, don't call, tell them to not even come.
I don't think they're going to have a chance to take a look at Saving Private Ryan as once again Nico going into the backline gets a massive knockup. Is this going to be it? Derek will actually be the first to fall. It's going to be Gwen falling next, and once again the Nico looked perfect, but the fight just completely collapses here as Water is going to be the next on the chopping block. Top lane tower should fall. This could actually be the base broken into in the first time, and once again DZG. The fight looked good on paper, but I don't think it looks that damn good when you're starting to take a look at the stat pages here, and all members of the side of Dynasty Jade are sitting here damn near full health, and they're pushing onto the Nexus towers here, Silent. This might be game, just based on that team fight. First one falls, next one on the chopping block now, and DZG, in stunning fashion, just 3 real big team fights completely collapsing on them. Lose this game.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely just a macro difference. One team really knew what they wanted and positioned themselves to get that, and the other team kind of just walked in. And unfortunately, it's just not what you can do in these games.
Well, let's go ahead and take a quick look at some things, and the damage coming out from Toxic Cooper looked really good. Zeri actually had a decent amount of damage, all things considering. If you looked at the scoreline, you wouldn't really think it. But Nico, how many 4 to 5 man ultimates did we see come out of Nico? Was sitting at 13k damage. That's wild, man. That is wild.
I mean, I think if she opted more for a I'm just going to go in and kamikaze this fight, I think if she'd gone for the Rabadon instead of a Zonia, she had an option to actually make a difference in those team fights.
Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and head into a quick delay here. I'll eat some dinner. DZG need to watch Saving Private Ryan so they know not to leave Gwen behind. And we'll bring you Game 2 draft shortly. Elysium fashion, we have already started the draft, and Alyssa is about to kill the entire roster. But while we are waiting for her to plan her murder spree, we already gonna take a look at some of these bans. Rel, Tristana taken away, as we do see Dynasty Jade, Dynasty Jad, if you take a look at the lineup here, have been banned. And yeah, we are seeing the side swap here. Dynasty Jade is on blue side, DZG is on red side. Zig's taken off the board, and DZG have taken away Alawi, Nyla, and Jarvan. First pick Sivir coming in here for Dynasty Jade. Silent, what are the biggest draft adaptations you're looking for in this game?
I'm thinking that either we're gonna see the exact same draft and just, DZG play it completely different, or we're gonna probably see something different in terms of mid lane, but it does look very similar to last time.
We call this rage drafting, where you say, it wasn't me, I can do this again. We just have to fix XYZ, as both Zeri and Gwen have come back onto the Rift in the draft here. And Gwen just really needs to communicate with the team for this one and say, hey, everybody, I'm going in. Don't leave me here. As we do see probably the first, just kidding, not the first adaptation, as Urgot Gwen walked into the top lane matchup yet again. And I don't understand the point of asking for side selection if you're just going to run it back. So there has to be a change coming up on the horizon. We don't see it in the bans, we don't see it in the draft, but it looks like a Poppy might be the change that we wanted. Well, maybe not so much if you're a DZG fan, as that's a huge denial tool on the Gwen here, and I think it's a lot better pickup than a Trundle. Just kidding, it's a Maokai.
It does seem like they're focusing on potentially locking down this series. She was troublesome until she got way too close and just got deleted.
Deleted a few times indeed. DZG making an adaptation on their own. Dr. Mundo coming onto the Rift, and just based on initial looks, you think that's probably going to go into the jungle, but there's still some flex potential there for the mid. I'm sorry, for the jungle and the top lane. This could have been just a giant big brain play, throw game one in abysmal fashion, but make them think that Gwen's always going to be your top lane pick. As Victor is taken off the table here, I imagine we might be getting some more support bans since support has not been picked up yet. Blitzcrank it is. Silent, how you feeling about things so far?
I'm still not a fan of the Zeri versus the Sivir. She just doesn't have enough to close out on the Sivir, in my opinion. Sivir just completely from range, just because to poke out. We do see one adaptation with instead of the Syndra ban, it's actually a Silas ban coming, which is interesting. Do you think that there's gonna be another Braum pick here?
Maybe a Braum ban, but the Silas is interesting. It kind of makes me want to know what their red 4 pick is. Typically, if you're banning that, you want to take a look at a Malphite, some heavy engage tool, and Alistair was not what I was expecting.
But to be fair, Silas does have a lot of ults that he would want to take. He would want that window. He would want that Alistar ult. So I definitely see those as options, and especially with the mid lanes options to of champion choice, it is something that Silas would benefit from. So I think it is beneficial for DZG to ban out that Silas.
Well, we still need a mid and a jungle pick here from the side of Dynasty Jade. Swain's going to be one of those coming into the mid lane, and this is not looking so far like a team that DZG want to pile on top of, which, to their benefit, they didn't want to pile on top of the enemy team last game. So, let's hope things look a little bit different here from terms of team fighting, because it's going to go even worse versus Swain and versus Maokai. Last pick coming in here from the side of Dynasty Jade in the next 5 seconds. Let's see what that will be. And it's a Yone.
Wow, this is definitely something that I have not seen from Rendleman during the scrim. So I'm interested in seeing how this is going to play out because I have seen DZG's mid lane play Yone before. I guess we're going to see something potentially where we're going to see a lot more fighting than we did last game. I feel like they're definitely going to duel it out mid lane.
All right, huge question for my team here. Silent Alyssa, is it Yone? Is it Yone? Because I don't know. I really don't, and I don't want to have to go listen to Freak tell me what it is in the champion spotlight. So, Twitch, maybe you can let me know which one it is. Don't just say it's Yone, Yone versus, Yone, because that's not going to help me at all. Give me some phonetics here to work with, ladies and gentlemen. As we did get that last pick coming in, and Silent, we see the entirety of the draft here. Do you feel like the adaptations were enough?
I feel like the adaptations are potentially enough. We're seeing the Mundo. I feel like Mundo will definitely be able, if he can get a lead in this game, will definitely be a complete threat to the other team. We are also seeing DZG's mid lane on his comfort pick with an Annie. As I've heard many times over practices, he has a higher elo brother that plays it and has taught him how to play it. So we should see some interesting Annie mechanics here.
That's one of the tried and true things of teaching a new player how to play the game is just go, hey man, pick up this champion, farm with your Q, and drop a barrel on people's heads, and it's quite satisfying. So from the side of Dynasty Jade, we're gonna go ahead and have ourselves an Urgot in the top lane. Maokai probably in the jungle. Swain, actually, no, that's gonna be a Maokai support. Is that a Yone jungle?
Should be Yone mid potentially.
Yone, oh, Swain support. That makes sense. So Urgot in the top lane. We have Maokai in the jungle. We have Yone in mid with a Sivir Maokai bot lane. That makes sense. For the side of DZG, we have Gwen probably in the top lane, Mundo in the jungle. That could still be flexed, although it's unlikely. Annie coming into the mid lane with a Zeri Alistar bot lane. We've saw both team comms coming in here as we are now getting into the final pick ban in-game portion. Silent, do you think we're gonna get another boring game here?
I absolutely do not think we're gonna have a boring game. We're seeing a Yone versus an Annie. I think there's going to be a lot of poking around mid lane. We saw bot lane earlier. They both opted for Cole, but still did a lot of poke from both sides. And especially with a Swain there, you're definitely going to want to see him use his E a lot. And probably the most boring one will be top lane, to be honest. I feel like both we're going to see a lot of mid lane, bot lane, and potentially where these jungles go is going to definitely be where the camera pans to.
Oh, well, you heard it from him, ladies and gentlemen. One quick thing to note: we're not even gonna bother pulling up the bingo card. We only got one thing on it from the last game, and unfortunately, it was DZG get aced. So, other than that, nothing really too much to talk about, as we are gonna just head into our spectate delay a little bit early, and we're gonna go bring you Game 2 of DZG Elysium versus Dynasty Jade. Stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back bringing you game 2 of DZG Elysium versus Dynasty Jade. Taking a quick reminder that we have swapped sides, and we're still getting the same 5-man fan out. If we remember last game, a little bit of BM there onto the jungle dance off. Probably won't be seeing that again as Singular is stepping up, and DZG not looking to do any Janna shenanigans because, plot twist, they don't have a Janna. We are seeing a little bit of dancing there in the bot lane. A boomerang? Boomerang, anybody? No? Alright, so Silent, we do see the exhaust on Raptor. We do see the double ghost in the bot lane from the side of Dynasty. Other than that, is there anything that you really want to take a look at this early in the game?
Nope. Honestly, everything is just normal. It is good to note that Derek has opted for the electrocute, so we are gonna see a lot of fighting mid lane, in my opinion, to proc that.
I hope so, because if I have to go 16 minutes with just one death, I might cry a little bit, as we're seeing a little bit of that warding scrap come out, and looks like we're just going to fall right back into a nominal early game pattern, and yeah, that's hopefully something. But we see both lineups. We talked a little bit about some of the win conditions for either side and what things that you really want to see. What are you really looking to see in this early game for either game to really look to pressure here, Silent?
Honestly, I really expect the Annie to really push out this Yone early, especially with this electrocute damage. We did see Technics invade, so are we going to see a vertical jungle? Is their bot lane going to be playing safe? It doesn't look like they're playing very safe, so I feel like Mundo is going to go for that Krugs and look for a gank if they continue being unaware.
Well, I don't think I saw any pings coming out onto the map to indicate that they know that Mundo is doing what he is doing right now as he's working his way to go down to the Krugs here. DZG have no vision in that tri-brush, and honestly, why would you at this time and point in the game? CS is pretty negligible to mention, and really all eyes on this bot lane play as DZG seem completely unaware. Koopa looking up to ward in the river, but that's not where the ward is going to be needed, and it looks like Mundo has finished off the Krugs and is walking down now through the lane. That's going to be Toxic Koopa, flash 1-2, taking the damage. He flashes, does not get headbutt, but he's ticking down. The Ignite doing a lot of work. One more Cleaver will not do it, and DZG are able to walk that one out, having to blow the flash there and the Ghost. But just I don't know if that was slow reaction speed on the headbutt there to not really be able to push him back or whatever that was. But Singular is now here in the mid lane looking to get on top of Derek. And Derek's dropping the stun, getting some of the damage out. The Sapling's not going to do anything. And once again, a lot of fighting, but not a lot of bloodshed.
I mean, it was definitely a great gank in terms of that bot lane, so the pathing definitely makes a difference. Well, it looks like Maokai is opting for that vertical jungle now that he's realized the other side, but Mundo is on the same side, and Singular Bread does not have that much HP to begin with.
Yeah, well, it's going to be, once again, Water going forward to hit into Illicit here, and DZG, just that fizzling out there for him was really unfortunate. Now it's going to be fighting here. Singular Bread taking a lot of damage here. Will he fall? No, now damage has to be shifted onto Rendleman. He's going to get stunned. One more hit will do it, and Technics does miss the Cleaver. Had the wrong angle on the flash predict there, and once again, just another close look, but the damage not going to be there.
Yeah, honestly, I think Dynasty played that extremely well in terms of surviving it. Technics had that opportunity to really get the kill. Oh, top lane looks like...
Oh, wow. Spread is taking a lot of damage. Urgot flashing on top. Urgot picks up the first blood onto Spread. And Gwen first to fall in this game.
Yeah, it looks like last time top lane was a little bit too comfy. And now Urgot kind of had that surprise of, hey, I see an opportunity. I'm going to take it now that he's gotten used to the way that Spread has played the top lane with Gwen.
I've gotten used to it and definitely capitalized there. Gold deficit still pretty much even. Gwen was outfarming the Urgot pretty heavily there, and looks like paid the price for it for sure. As Teleport coming back up into the top lane from Spread, getting up there to pick up that CS before he loses it all to the tower. Urgot taking the recall as well, and Dragon's going to be up in 13 seconds, and DZG kind of hanging out here under the tower, not really looking for a great opportunity again, as both jungles are on the bot side. Yone with a decent trading pattern there. Derek just not having access to that sun means Rendleman feels pretty confident moving that one forward. The Scuttle Crab going over to Singular's pocket here as Technics is a little late to this party, and Silent, I don't know if we're going to get the Drake fight, but I want it.
Well, I mean, this is, I believe, a Cloud Drake, so I don't believe either side will focus on this as much as that Rift, and especially after bot lane has been weakened severely with that early gank, I don't think that bot lane is prepared or interested in trying to get more priority in this lane at the moment. We are seeing though that this Sivir has not warded yet, so I mean, it may be punished later on if this window happens to come around the backside again.
Well, surprise. Never mind. I'm not going to say that. Mundo is going to be channeling the recall right now, so I don't think we're going to be getting it here soon. As a little bit of trading patterns once again coming out. Raptor moving forward to get onto Zeri a little bit, and that spell shield hasn't really been doing too terribly much for him, as Derek is not looking too happy in these trading patterns here in the mid lane. Gwen getting the push up into the top lane. Herald should be coming up here in 2 minutes, so nothing really to play for with that pressure. And DZG just feeling a little bit of love from Maokai as he's down in the bot lane. But aside from that top lane solo kill, not too much happening around the Rift.
I mean, to be fair, Mundo does scale, and unfortunately, Swain also scales. So I feel like it's kind of even depending on which one gets more fed. I feel like if Swain happens to get more of these opportunities to get assists and more gold, I feel like he is going to be a threat to that window because he can sit along.
And he drops the bear there, had access to the stun, and I think it's just to force Rendleman out as Annie's going to be now taking the recall here. So really interesting decision, but I guess sometimes just getting the priority is worth the ultimate.
I mean, it not just priority, but he managed to push him out of lane and get an easy back. So right now, Rendleman did get forced out of lane, but it also gives a chance for Annie to reset. I mean, that bear isn't really a long cooldown, so I mean, it's already 25% back.
Absolutely. Now, still more scrapping in the top side of the map as Spread is going to be taking a little bit of tower shot there. The ultimate coming out, and it's going to be enough. He was not able to utilize the second usage of the W, and Urgot with a second kill in the solo fight there, and DZG's top lane's bleeding.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like he was just a pixel off of the turret, so eventually, when he managed to get E'd by Urgot, unfortunately he was within turret range, and Urgot took complete advantage of it.
Water going forward to get a little bit of a trading pattern there onto Illicit. No ultimates available here in the bot side of the map, and Drake is not still yet on anybody's priority list, it seems, as both jungles are now here in the bot side. DZG have priority in the bot side as well and getting a little bit of vision. And Silent, Sivir has warded.
Well, that's always great to hear. Unfortunately, it does look like this Annie is not really. It should be going. It's going more even than I thought it would early. I felt that she had the upper hand with Electrocute, but it looks like Runnelman has played it really well.
Well, Riddleman's still looking for the trading patterns, but Annie had access to the stun. I don't think he's going to get much more out of that, but we do get a fight down here on the bot side. The Cleaver did smack into a spell shield. It's going to be Water going forward, getting on top to Koopa. Koopa again with another quick flash here. Will be there in time. Maokai throwing the ultimate over the wall. Hit Raptor here, and it's just going to tag him by a pixel. Now, Raptor's going to be in a little bit of trouble here. The damage going out onto him. They will now, next damage going out onto Koopa most likely, and it's an Alistar picking up the kill there in the middle of 3 people. That's not something you see every day. Technics here trying to get Water out, but Rendleman going forward, getting a lot of damage. The anti-stun coming through will lock Rendleman up. Rendleman will fall singular now in a little bit of a rock and a hard place here as everybody's running him down. The Cleavers are hitting, the damage is coming through, and that's going to be a lot of Swain damage coming out as well, but it's not going to be enough. A lot of low health bars, but DZG, ultimately, I think that was a 2-for-2 trade. Or actually a 2-for-1 trade in their favor, so that's going to look good. Their health bars are pretty low, but Mundo is going to be tanking up, or healing up rather, and this should be their Drake as well.
Yeah, I mean, they are rather aware that there is a window on it, but I don't think they can honestly stop them at the moment. The fight kind of went in favor of Dynasty at the beginning, but as it turned around, they did manage to pick off Rendleman, and I feel like that was really important for the Annie to pick up gold.
Yeah, it was a perfect case of right time, right place there, as DZG kind of looked like they want to pressure the Scuttle. Raptor going over the wall, now getting on top of Raven. Raven immediately pops the ultimate and turns into a Raven. A lot of damage going out. Toxic Koopa will actually pick up the kill on Raptor. Now Rendleman's here. Double kill going to Sivir's pocket. Water's next on the chopping block, and will DZG just quickly, in stunning fashion, lose 3 members all over a Scuttle grab.
Honestly, it just seems like Dynasty is very familiar with the fact that DZG Elysium just wants to skirmish all the time, and they're always down to skirmish. But unfortunately, they were unaware that Swain should be getting near his level 6, so he should have his ult soon, and just saw him as, oh, we can easily pick it. But they unfortunately experienced that Swain's not that easy to pick once he gets to level 6.
Well, we had a little bit of an interesting lane adaptation here as the Annie comes into the top lane, and it's going to be the Gwen going down into the bot lane for a little bit of a lane swap shenanigans. DZG looking down the barrel of a 2k gold deficit and with only a Cloud Drake sitting in their pocket, and that definitely does not feel good. 4 minutes on the next Mountain Drake, and we have another... I'm sorry, Herald is already up, so that could be another point of contention here, but DZG not really making too many... adaptations here with their bot lane, still keeping them in the bot lane here. So not really looking to show a lot of priority there on that Riptailed here, Silent.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like it would have been better for DZG Elysium to rotate their bot lane mid, just because they can take advantage of this Yon when he decides to use his shields, or when he decides to go in, because Alistar can easily bump him exactly where you want him. But we're opting to continue with the bot lane, and looks like we're swapping back mid and top. Looks like they did not like that matchup, or they were just trying to cover the lane.
Well, I mean, for the most part, Gwen was just straight up ignoring Yone and saying, okay, you're hitting me, that's fine, I just want these minions, please, thank you. And despite dying 2 times in the solo kills, is farming relatively well. 10 CS at 11 minutes is not looking too terrible, and I really want to have focuses here on Koopa. Like, last game had amazing damage dealt, in this game picking up the kills, has access to the Kraken Slayer to really shred down both Alistar and Mundo. I think Koopa's going to be really a point to watch in this game or
Yeah, he's definitely the focus that DZG Elysium should have in every fight. If they can't get to him, they really should probably not pick the fight.
Definitely true. We're 2 minutes out now from the Drake teleport, or I'm sorry, recalls are being channeled now, and yeah, the Herald was also picked up by the side of Dynasty Jade, pretty much uncontested. So, business as usual on the Rift right now. I don't really see anything that's going to be too exciting here in the next, 2 minutes unless something just gets set up perfectly. I think it's just going to be a farm fiesta.
Yeah, I honestly think that DZG realizes that they kind of picked the tempo a little bit too fast. They want to slow it down a little bit to potentially get this Gwen a couple more items before she decides to fight again. And bot lane just wants to shove out that wave. Annie's just doing her normal thing of poking CC.
Well, I stand corrected, as there is going to be a lot dropped on the Rendelman, and he will look like Tibbers. It looked like Moo Cow going in with Technics over the top, and just not a good time, as DZG brought the whole zoo, and it will be Rendelman that pays the price.
Yeah, and they did the perfect time too. Annie managed to get some plates off it, got some useful CC onto it, and Technics got the kill. So Technics can potentially get to that point where he can run into the whole line to get to that Sivir.
Herald dropped in the bot lane here, and it's going to be just in time to pick up those last 2 plates and get first tower here for the side of Dynasty Jade. That's going to accelerate their gold lead to a stable 2k. And Drake's going to be coming up in 50 seconds. DZG have no prio on this bot side of the map. They have no prio in the mid lane either, as Urgot's just popping his W and taking plates. And DZG, they look real great in that kill, that gank. It looked beautiful, but their map pressure is severely lacking here, Silent.
Yeah, and I think that they're opting to give up this Drake because Mundo is currently sitting on the top side, but it looks like now they're decided to change their intention and opt to try to get some position for mid lane and potentially lead that to another Drake.
Oh, we're seeing the dance now here in the mid lane. The vision is kind of getting cleared back a little bit in DZG's favor. They are sending a couple men strong, but it looks like a little bit of a pincer attack here. Now it's going to be Alistar taking some some damage here as he's in a little bit of a hard spot. Has to pop the ultimate. It's going to be the ultimate coming out of Maokai. DZG trying to get their focus on the singular bread. We'll be able to slow him. Spread is going to be running on top, getting some damage out. It should be enough to really chunk him down. It's going to be singular forcing the flash there. Gwen does not have a flash of her own. It's going to be really rough to get out. Pops the E over the wall. Riddleman going forward, looking to pop the ultimate, and just tags it by a pixel and gets on top. Now it's going to be Technics in the front line. Gwen will fall. Toxic Koopa getting that kill. Raven hard chasing down, and that was actually Urgot grabbing the ultimate, second use of it, and taking them down. Derek is took down Singular in the backline, but now has to run away. It's DZG losing, I think, 3 people for only 1, and it's gonna be a really rough time for DZG to get into this pit with the Mundo and try to take this objective. Now, I want to note that Dynasty does not have access to the Smite. Tiver Scare's out, but it did not connect. Now it's going to be Feathers and Fur going unstoppable as Annie kind of just whiffed and then died. Technics cannot do anything by himself now, and it is going to be a Dynasty Jade Drake.
That was quite a fight from both sides. Unfortunately, we did see that fight kind of, although that pincer attack was, it looked strategic, it definitely did not look planned. I mean, Zeri was literally zoned out completely. She had no potential of getting in on anyone, and as soon as she tried, Maokai ulted and she got stuck in place. Unfortunately, it just did not look as pretty. They really have a front-to-back fight team and just tried this pincer attack with everyone spreading out their damage and ended up not really damaging anyone. And Annie didn't really get to use her stun ult to really just pick off someone and kind of keep anyone alive until everyone was already dead.
It looked satisfying in the beginning, but the lack of ability for DZG to really be able to execute somebody completely was the big doom and gloom factor there. Gwen getting onto the Singular in the bot lane would have been great if Gwen was able to get that kill, and then it really changes the tempo of the fight. But just barely missed it, was not able to kill because of the flash coming in. So whether that was, cooldown tracking issues or just, performance issues, get that man a Viagra because it did not work out. He was then forced to E over the wall, got tagged just ever so slightly by that Yone, and then I just feel like it completely fell to shambles from there. Now, DZG are looking at a 4K gold deficit. The Drakes are now evened up, and the pressure is definitely heavily in favor of Dynasty. What do they need to do here, Simon?
They just need to play to their comp. They need that Annie to kind of be that front to pick off someone, Mundo to kind of tank the damage, but yet still put out damage, and either Gwen to be capitalizing on a split push, or Gwen to be in that front line chunking their tanks, because no tank really wants to stand in front of the scissors of Gwen.
Yeah, certainly not. But now, 2 things to really keep our eyes on. We thought that Koopa was going to be a massive threat. It's actually, we're getting the fight now. Singular is getting a little bit engaged upon. Technics is looking to throw some cleavers here forward. Illicit just kind of taking them, not really caring too much. And DZG just struggling to really defend their own jungle here.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for DZG, Swain opted for the Rylai, so he's definitely go the more utility, the more, hey, I'm keeping them in this fight as long as possible, and instead of going for the more damage route and kind of turning into a secondary carry, he's trusting the Sivir to put out the damage, and Urgot has definitely gotten ahead with the lead that he's been provided by Gwen.
Which, normally I would say is a really good news story for DZG. However, DZG really don't have too much in terms of tankiness. The Alistar is inherently tanky because Alistar, but if you look at his build, he went with the swiftness boots for roam potential, and really hasn't been doing too much of that aside from the mid lane go. So kind of missing out on some tanky stats there, and what I was going to say before that little skirmish happened, and, Dynasty just gets a free Rift Herald, is Feathers is sitting 5-0. Sivir is now sitting 3-0, and you only really have one person with Ninja Tabby to handle any of this physical damage coming in, and it's on your Mundo. So DZG, they're definitely looking down the barrel of a loaded physical gun, as we're going to be seeing the fight here. Now, it's going to be a stun going out on the Ravens. He's going to get instantly blown up. Raptor gets that kill. Now it's going to be the Maokai ultimate coming over the top, but Rinneman going through as well. A lot of damage going out onto Raptor, as Raptor will fall. Koopa getting that one now. Damage going out on Technics. He's taken real low. He's not looking like a tank right now. Water is now going to be the target, and we talked about how squishy they are, but he's going to be able to survive. Just kidding. Urgot picks up that one. Rinneman will fall. Now Koopa's going to be trying to fight Gwen, but that's not going to work out. DZG pick up 4 kills and only lose 2.
I mean, that ended up as a great fight for DZG. It was slightly unfortunate, or rather fortunate, that, Fred was not there earlier. I mean, previous fights, he was there too early. That he was a little bit late, but I mean, he ended up cleaning up, getting that gold that he really desperately needed to turn it around. Unfortunately, it looked like Renelman has this beeline, or I feel like the entire Dynasty team is focusing Raptor. I mean, every fight I've seen, they've literally targeted him if they can get to him.
Well, every fight he has literally died, so it seems like their plan, at least in that part, is working. It's the rest of the plan that seems to fall to pieces. Feathers is going to be up here in the top lane. We'll see Spread, and he's actually going to get on top of Spread. Flashes forward, gets a lot of damage out here, has no access to the ultimate, I do not believe, does not need it, and will actually go godlike as Gwen falls, and sitting at 7-0, and, you know, we talked about things that DZG didn't want to happen. That, A. B, getting a Rift Herald dropped on their mid lane tower, and C, the fact that they got everybody but Feathers in that last fight who was sitting on a 600 gold shutdown. That would have been the most valuable to kill to get, and unfortunately they just were not able to get it. Mid lane tower fall as this gold lead is now only at 3k, but DZG now need to figure out what they want to do for this Drake here, Silent.
Yeah, I think they're forced to give it up, even though they do have the potential run at it. But both top laners, once Gwen respawns, has TP, but I think it's just too late.
Well, if it was too late, then they shouldn't pull the trigger as Gwen is going in now. Damage going out onto Technics. He's on the front line taking a lot of damage. It's going to be the stun dropped in. Illicit Raven. That is a very awkward teleport going out onto the Tibbers there. But DZG don't care. They're sending everybody forward, and they are getting a lot of kills. Double kill going into Gwen's pocket. Zeri will pick up Toxic Koopa for the first time. Feathers and Fur did not even decide to come into this one. DZG, a little bit of an awkward teleport move, but they get 4 members of Dynasty. They get the Drake, and now they have their sights set on the Baron.
I honestly, we're gonna have to clip that that TP from this Annie. I honestly want to know what they were thinking because for other than entertainment value, maybe they were just so confident that fight was won that they decided to TP to their own bear. But yeah, I don't know why there was a disconnect from Feathers and Fur and the rest of Dynasty where why didn't, Urgot kind of TP early so that he could kind of force out the other team? Maybe they just felt kind of like how I did where the other team was just too late to the dragon and, hey, they're not going to do that and let me get this top turret. But honestly, I think that dragon was worth it. Honestly, I really should have expected Feathers to kind of rotate earlier to help out, kind of like he did in game 1. But unfortunately, DZ did, or well, they're fortunate for DZG, they were able to get this Drake and kind of elongate this game. I feel like this window is definitely going to be a threat going forward, especially this Gwen, because of all the tanks that and HP bars that Dynasty has. I feel like they will chunk it easily.
You know, it's going back to that teleport onto the Tibbers there. It's sad that Tibbers was getting more protection in this series than, Raptor has gotten. Just based on that teleport alone, so that was always fun to watch. Teleport into Zach Blobbits, we've seen that. Teleport onto Tibbers, not so much. As we do see that it seems like the Dynasty Jade top lane has disconnected, so let's take a quick snapshot of the game state here. Feathers and Fur still sitting at a massive 7-0, 700 gold lead, and going to be a threat. Granted, CS hasn't really gone in his way, so it should be mostly even between him and Gwen, especially with that Baron going over. The gold lead for the side of Mundo is looking pretty potent here, and yeah, thank you, production, I appreciate it. So yeah, right about even where I expected in that top lane to be. The Mundo and the Maokai sitting at a deficit in terms for Dynasty Jade, as Mundo has been farming pretty decently and being heavily involved in a lot of this action. Mid lane, it's going to be advantage Annie. Bot lane, as we expected, Koopa's getting sitting ahead of the side of Raptor. Now, we're seeing the game state here. We have a good time to pause. What are your thoughts here, Silent? What needs to happen next for DZG to close this game, or what does Dynasty need to do to reestablish control?
I feel like for Dynasty, they just need to get this really good team fight where Urgot is present. Honestly, the only fights that they've lost, Urgot was not present at. So I feel like if he's there, it's going to deter DZG a lot because they have to go through the Urgot with all his gold first. It is surprising that Gwen and Urgot don't have that much of a gold gap. So Spread has definitely kept enough his CS up in order to keep the gold. But for DZG, I feel like they just need to continue with these picks. They need to take these fights where they have the upper hand, where they have the people. Mid lane, when they had the 3 people gank the Rendleman, they got the kill. In that last dragon fight, they had all 5 people commit to the fight. they had the team fight, they won it, and they got the Drake from it. I think if they manage to continue doing these random picks, I feel like it's gonna be really beneficial. Whereas Dynasty needs to stick together, kind of like a glove fist.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we could go back to items real quick, please, production. And so let's take a look at a few of the things. We're looking at the Kraken Slayer versus the that one on Zeri, and I forget the name of it. So it's like Quick Blades or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe it's in the
Before
Mori
quick
quickly.
blades, there we go. I was like, I think I know. One of the newer items for me. So an interesting discrepancy there, and you can definitely see the different mentality of what each team needs to do. And you look at the members of DZG's tanks, and they're not very tank-like. They get blasted through pretty quickly. So definitely the carries on the side of Dynasty doing what they need to do in that regard. But the team fight execution just it's not what it was in game one. But honestly, even in game one, like Dynasty's team fight execution wasn't great. They enabled Eat Nico every time to just walk in and blow up their whole roster. Now the damage just wasn't there. The actual potential wasn't there. But if the items were right and the damage was right, then those fights would have been very doom and gloom from the side of Dynasty. So DZG definitely having a lot of the strengths here in these team fights when they have the gold in the right places, and it's showing, Silent. It really is.
Yeah, having Annie on a damage profile has definitely changed the outlook of it. I mean, Rendelman seemed like he was going even early, but now it looks like with the ganks and these team fights, it's definitely the mid lane has definitely the gold has shifted definitely toward the Annie, and hopefully this Annie is able to put these fights in terms of picks on his back.
Mm. Well, we're definitely seeing that carry or that pick coming in and doing a lot of work. Unfortunately, we've also seen two moments where we're just we're gonna have to call Derek out and make sure we take some good clips here. As I think we're coming out of the pause in just a moment. Hopefully, no, just kidding. Haven't seen anything else. Apparently, some Discord issues going on. Um, apparently, Discord is being Discord. So real quick, let's take a fond moment to remember the Tibbers whiff completely, and then the teleport onto the Tibbers. Both just fantastic highlights this week here, Silent.
Yeah, I imagine that Technics will not turn down the opportunity to make fun of that TP. Honestly, I don't know what he thought he had, but it definitely wasn't TP.
Well, we quickly got all the R's. Everything looks pretty. We're back into this game, which was fortunate because I was running out of things to talk about. As we are back into this one, we've talked about pretty much everything: the state of the game, the gold, the items, the pathing. As we get the infamous in-game freeze, and might have to just rewind just a few seconds. So Drake's here, 2 for DZG, 1 for the side of Dynasty Jade. The next one coming up in 3 minutes. So we've got a while. Now it's going to be really up to DZG to figure out how they want to utilize this Baron to accelerate tempo, gold allocation, whatever the choice may be. They need to figure it out. And looks like Spread and Technics are going to be down here on a Rendelman. He's going to try to pop the ultimate to get out, but it's only going to take him about 2 Teemos away. Spread just kind of hanging out, waiting for him to snap back, and he's like, oh, well, this is unfortunate. He goes through. He's going to be hit. He's going to fall. Technics gets that one onto the Mundo. Would have loved to see that one go to Gwen, but everything is fine, and they're just going to keep pushing in that bot lane here. Feathers and Fur is going to be doing his best to hold on to that. As we're seeing some fighting in the mid lane, the stun goes out. Illicit Raven taking a lot of damage, and now it's going to be Water taking damage as well. It's going to be a knockback. Water's going to be taken low. Water will fall. Singular picking up that kill. Now Illicit's running to the hills. Damage going out, and Derek somehow got that one. I think it was a little bit of a burn from the Leandri's Torment. DZG, 4 members strong here in the mid lane. This tower is going to fall. 2 members of Dynasty are showing gray screen. Mid lane tower 1 falls. Mid lane tower 2 is going to be next on the chopping block here. You have to think that one goes boom pretty quickly. As Feather says, y'all can have it. I ain't hanging out.
Yeah, and I feel like the damage profile of Swain has really started changing. DZG did a great job in picking first the Rendelman and bot lane, and then forcing the fights near mid lane. But I feel like if Swain had opted for a little bit more of a damage build, I feel like mid lane fight wouldn't have gone as easily in favor of DZG as it had.
Certainly not. DZG now for the first time in this series, I think, have a 2K gold lead. They're going to be channeling their recalls and spending that well-earned gold here and then getting back onto the map. Unfortunately, another minute and 30 seconds out on the Drake here, and I think we still have another 2 minutes on the Baron buff. So DZG now need to figure out what the next opportunity for them is, as all members of Dynasty Jade are back on the map.
Yeah, I mean, all the TPs are up as well, so everyone can TP to this next Drake, but we're going to see who's going to better prepare for this fight. At the moment, it does look like DZG has the better preparation. All the wards are there. Obviously, you know, the other Dynasty will come around and clear those wards, but there is an opportunity for DZG to kind of get this quick back and kind of get the wards back down.
Well, it is going to look like we're going to have some sort of action going on this. Both teams have pinged that dragon timer here, but it looks like a Sivir recall coming in over the top. We'll have to haul ass to get back here in time, but has plenty of time to do it. 40 seconds on this Drake. DZG have firm control, not only of the dragon pit vision, but also the bot side jungle vision. As we are going to see a recall now being channeled. No vision on this one. Feathers and Fur opts to not complete it. DZG setting up a little bit of a kill brush action. Raptor going into the mid lane here, looking to pick up this lane as it looks like the side of Dynasty say, you know what, let's just shove mid, force them to answer us, and we'll give up this Drake potentially. They kind of break off the push a little bit. DZG roaming as a 5-man unit here, and so is Dynasty. It's just a kind of an NA ram with Dynasty just saying, we'll take the tower, you can have the Drake here, and I think that's honestly the optimal play with how much of the control they just did not have. They get themselves a little bit of free gold here, even up the gold lead to just 1.5k deficit, and then they just opt to go into the top side of the map, and DZG, I feel, once again, have been out-macroed.
Honestly, that part I feel like DZG actually had a decent macro. At the beginning, I would say that Dynasty had the advantage because of the way that they forced DZG to rotate over. But later on, I feel like Dynasty missed an opportunity to get that in-hit turret. The whole entire team of DZG was not rotating. It was just partials. So I think it saw Gwen and Raptor rotate, which aren't really a big threat to the 5 of Dynasty. They could have gotten that turret and forced them to say, "You get this Drake, but I'll take I'll open up your inhibitor turret."
Yeah, I think one more tower would have been ideal. The giant question marks going there from the side of Dynasty, wondering where DZG's lineup was. With the extreme lack of vision that they had in literally the entire bottom side of the map, I think they played it as good and as safe as they could have, for sure. But no, I definitely agree after you mention it. There's big missed opportunity. Technic's looking to get onto Koopa, will hit one cleaver. Koopa's just going to get run down, has to pop the spell shield, but it's not going to be enough. Another cleaver will connect. Derek is running forward as well. Flash, and the Tivers miss. So well played. Toxic holding on to his flash at the last possible second. Used it when he needed it and did not get picked there, which would have been absolute abysmal state for Dynasty. If he did get picked, there would be zero chance for them to contest an Ashe. Technic's just running forward, not caring at all. Spread taking these towers on the bot side, and Singular in his top side jungle has to pop the ultimate to just get away. That's a lot of tools that the side of Dynasty no longer have access to. Technics is just going to be smacking Illicit here on the front. Raptor here as well. A lot of damage coming out. Will it be enough? And no, it will not be. Illicit Raven falling. Spread is looking to get in there. Will get actually CC'd up. Taking tower shots. Is going to be taken low. Is going to be taken to the graveyard. Rendleman falls as well. Zeri will die. It's going to be Sivir dying as well. Feathers in the back line. We'll get the pull, get the kill, and then get the fear out. And now Water is going to be his next target. Water will be going to the graveyard as well. Feathers and Fur doing a lot of work there. I think that was ultimately a 4-for-2 trade in favor of Dynasty. They have evened up this gold lead, and he just struck back in stunning fashion as DZG just really over-indexed into that one under that tower silent.
Yeah, I feel like they just saw an opportunity. They were like, okay, Urgot's pushing top. We need to force this mid lane. They saw an opportunity where they did burn Koopa's flash when Technics was running after him. But I still didn't feel like it was something that was really worth, let's dive this turret for. And unfortunately, Gwen found out that hard way.
I feel like DZG Elysium have a really big problem when it comes to, tempering intrusive thoughts I'll hold that comment here as a second as we're actually seeing teleports channeled. It's going to be Rendleman looking to flash forward and does absolutely nothing. Feathers and Fur going to be on the front line. Gets stunned, gets taken down. A huge shutdown going into Annie's pocket. Spread is going to, I'm sorry, Singular is going to be the next one to fall. Illicit Raven now on the front line. He's going to be taking a lot of damage here, forced to flash out, and that should get him out. Raptor will actually fall. Sivir damage doing a lot there. Rendleman's going to be, oh my god, the Sivir is doing so much. Technics will fall as well, and holy hell, toxic damage is just absolutely mental. It turned out to ultimately be a 3-for-3 trade. Just kidding, a 3-for-2 trade, and Dynasty somehow came up on that one.
Well, I mean, DZG continues to be on the wrong page with each other. I mean, early game, mid game, they were decently on the same page. Obviously, there were some mistakes, but they were on the same page at the very minimum. But the last two big fights we've watched, they were definitely not on the same page. Gwen saw an opportunity to really dive for that kill, and unfortunately died for it because Rendleman ended up CCing her, and then Maokai forced her under turret. And then in that last one, you saw 3 members of DZG chase for the kills, and I believe it was Annie and potentially Gwen kind of stay on that Baron. They were like, we should just do this Baron because we got the kills, but not everyone is on the same page, and it's definitely showing.
It ties into the point that I was trying to make before that fight broke out. We do have 45 seconds on this Drake, and DZG definitely won it. I might not even have time to say what I'm about to say here, as Scuttle Crab, Wolfall, DZG are looking to establish some sort of control back here. A lot of posturing coming in from Dynasty. Technics is roaming in on the side, looking for an opportunity to throw some cleavers here. Does tag Raven, but I don't think any more is going to follow of it. Now he's going to be fighting onto Feathers. Technics is being taken low. Technics will fall, just instantly deleted. Does not look like a tank at all. Spread is now left alone yet again. It's a tale as old as this series is. Water falls next. DZG just getting absolutely shredded as Koopa is on a killing spree. Drake's not even up yet, and Dynasty is feeling very comfortable with where they are. Roman is looking forward to get onto Raptor here, does a lot of damage, will ultimately get the kill, goes on killing spree, and DZG only have Derek left alive, and DZG, this game is crumbling out from under their feet as they looked for the soul, they did not get it.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's honestly poor positioning by Derek yet again. I'm not quite sure why he decided to flank all the way from the backside. I think he needs to be with his ADC and kind of peel for his ADC and kind of let Zeri put out that damage. But if you're all the way in the back, that just puts Window, who's honestly not really a tank. He's more an offensive tank and just kind of is able to have his HP bars, but he's not going to be able to mitigate that much damage.
No, especially when you're looking at a Fed. You're looking at a Fed Sivir. Like, yes, you won the last couple of, well, I would say, rewind a little bit further. You won a few fights earlier in the game, but, you're not winning them now. And then also this Sivir is an absolute powerhouse. Has Quick Blades, has a Kraken Slayer, and has a Lord Doms in their pocket. And I'm fairly certain they had the Lord Doms in that last fight, and the Mundo just got absolutely deleted. And once again, I think I'll finally actually be able to take this point to fruition now that both objectives are off the map, but DZG just really have an issue with their intrusive thoughts. It's like driving a car down a highway and you see a ramp and you're like, you know what? Gas pedal. Like, it's like some Dukes of Hazzard level shit that they keep indexing themselves into, but I'll be honest, movie physics don't apply in real life, and they're not applying for them in this game. Everything that they've looked for that was overly aggressive, overly intrusive, has just fallen flat time and time again. The Baron look that we saw recently, the tower dives into their base after a great setup. They had the opportunities, but they just don't know how to take the foot off the gas pedal and say, enough is enough, we got what we wanted. Let's do the smart play here, and that really came in full effect with that last Baron fight. And then they just saw the Drake. They postured forward, they sent everybody forward, and it just fizzled out, not in their favor. And now DZG, there's nothing left really for them to fight on the map. They're only down 3k gold. There's still a lot of opportunities here for them to really establish control of this game, but they just have to be smart in their next move silent, and I'm just concerned that they won't be.
Yeah, I feel like their next move, if it ends up being a massive team fight, it will spell doom for DZG, but I'm hoping that, they bring back what they realized, was working for them, these picks, when they have the numbers and just making it, and then, not chasing greeting for the kills if they manage to get it.
Certainly. Well, it's going to be a siege up here in the mid lane now as the cannon minion is doing its work and just chunking on the tower. DZG don't really have access to a lot of long range wave clear. And gonna be Feathers, Toxic, and Illicit down here on the bot side. Water's looking to loop around. Singular seems to know what's going on, but he gets rooted up. Now Maokai Ultimate getting thrown over the top here. Will connect one to Water, but Singular's kind of all by himself. Illicit advances, and Feathers and Fur now gonna be fighting Spread here on the front. Illicit taken kind of low, but not really. Spread has to get out. Technics has to get out. Water is now all by themselves and will fall. Raptor going forward by themselves as an AD carry. Riddleman in the back line just sowing chaos. DZG is just not looking good. Derek does actually get a kill into Illicit, but yeah, you gotta support. You lost your mid lane. DZG have 4-3 members sitting in the graveyard. All they got was the support. They're gonna lose their towers. They're gonna probably lose their base here. In at least terms of this bot lane, this inhibitor should fall. This mid lane inhibitor is gonna fall as well as Feathers. I wasn't really even needed that much for that fight. Does take down bot lane tower. Will be Dynasty taking down bot lane inhib. They can force a little bit more. There's still a 30-second respawn timer on Derek, but they say, nope, enough is enough. We have one more lane to go for, and I imagine that's what we're going to be looking at next. It's a 4-1 here, Simon.
Yeah, and we're just looking at better macro plays by Dynasty. I mean, no, I don't think anyone paid attention to the fact that Swain had finished Leandry's before that last fight, which meant that if you go after him, he will bleed out any healing that Mundo really wants to do. So Mundo really can't run at him as much as he wants to anymore. And with Rylai's, he's not running that fast outside of the fight either. So I think, unfortunately, it was just poor targeting. Honestly, they really need that. They should have picked off that, I believe it was Rendelman that was on the side. Just honestly, just numbers needs to focus on who is honestly easy to kill instead of who is, you know, the pretty target.
Honestly, both of these games, I feel like I'm just watching one member of DZG surrounded by the entirety of the enemy team and then gets absolutely punished for it. Last series, it was really spread. This time, it's been spread a few times, but, you know, we see Water go in thinking he has a team. He doesn't. We see Spread go in thinking he have a team. He doesn't. And we've seen Technics go in and thinks he's a tank. He's not. So there's a lot of, you know, DZG surrounded by multiple members and then DZG absolutely just getting eviscerated. Now, the Drake is going to be an easy pickup here for the side of Dynasty. I don't think there's any way they can contest. But the big question mark pings should be on this Baron here in a minute 15. DZG is sitting at 2 inhibs down. Simple macro means that Dynasty wins this game, but ladies and gentlemen, this is gold. Anything can happen, so we'll see what really pans out. But the way that Dynasty's been playing the macro so far, as much as I'm a DZG fan, as much as I want to see the strike back, it's not looking good.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, at the moment, there's just looks like Water has been fought out.
And Water is once again surrounded by all the members of Dynasty. Koopa is dominating, and, you know, the side of Dynasty don't even really need to go pressure on that Nash. 40 seconds late, they say, let's take this top lane tower in as far as we can. Tibbers gets dropped. Tibbers does nothing. Tibbers is going to get killed. Hey, he's just doing his best cosplay of DZG, surrounded by all members of the enemy team there, and will die. Technics is now going to be CC immune, will not get stunned up by the Twisted Advance. Singular taking a lot of damage here, and it looks like Spread will actually be able to go in and get the kill with the ultimate. So a 1-for-1 trade, ultimately, in DZG do strike back, clear out that wave, and that's looking a little good for him. Rendelman now looking like a little bit in trouble, does sidestep that cleaver. Red buff is going to get taken down. Technics is taking a lot of damage, but I think should be able to heal that up just fine. DZG now need to sit on the waves. Gwen has to go clear out minions smacking the tower, which one of their Nexus towers is now sitting on half health. And the pings coming out from the side of Dynasty onto the Nash. It looks like they started it up, but they don't have a jungle here. I don't think DZG are going to be able to punish that. DZG sending members out onto the map. Annie has access to teleport. Zeri is able to get there pretty fast. There's 10 seconds still on Singular. This macro, while questionable, it does work out still in their favor. They are able to get that completely uncontested with no jungle available, and DZG just not able to get back onto the map fast enough. DZG having to answer these super minions. Now they're going to have to deal with it with a Baron buff, giving them a little bit more firepower.
Yeah, and I think if DZG manage to survive this Baron, I think as long as they can get all the gold from all these super minions crashing, it's not completely terrible, since honestly no one really has soul yet. So I don't think it'll play into effect as long as DZG can manage to survive and just kind of CC and push out the waves. I think it's gonna make the game long enough that potentially the rest of the DZG team can get the gold items that they need to kind of recover from their early fights.
Based on how DZG have been playing, all Dynasty need to do is have Sivir dance in the mid lane, and all 5 members of DZG will go for it, and Dynasty just need to retaliate. Like, that should be their game plan, honestly. But they are doing the smart thing, and they're taking all members up here and buffing the Baron empowered minions up here in the top lane. I would like to see a 4-1 instead of a 5-0-0 here, Silent. I think that's a little suboptimal. It doesn't really allow them to establish pressure and just creates this 5-man dance. But DZG really not able to answer these 2 cannon minions that are being empowered here, and they're just chunking this tower. The super minions on the rest of the map doing what they need. DZG finally picked those up. Tower sitting at half health, and it's going to be Drake spawning in 2 minutes. So this dance should continue, and this dance should go in the favor of Dynasty here. Gold's becoming almost irrelevant as everybody has a full inventory with the exception of Annie. Still needs a last item here, and some items still need to be completed. But now it's going to be this tower just getting deleted. Spread is going forward. Spread is getting a decent amount of damage out. Now it's going to be the Maokai over the top. Technics is going to be CC immune and be able to walk this one out. The tower is down. Now it's going to be Dynasty walking into the base. Swaying ultimate will not tag anybody, but this inhib will fall. Huge 3-man ultimate coming in from Derek as he does get a lot of damage out. It's going to be Yone falling. Shutdown going into Zeri's pocket, but Koopa gets the return kill onto Water. Technics now running forward will get some damage out, and Singular Bread is going to be buying some time. We're seeing a teleport coming in, and it actually will be Gwen kind of going in for a pseudo flank. Koopa's going to be next on the chopping block, and actually will fall. I think that was Leandry's getting the kill there. Now it's going to be Feathers trying to do his best to stay alive, but it will not be enough. Now minions are in the base. DZG need to recall because they are losing their base towers, but DZG striking back very hard, getting a near ace as Illicit was the only one to live. Pings going out onto the Chemtech drink for both teams. DZG are still looking to protect their base here, and they fortunately have all the inhibs up or coming up, so that is some sort of boon in their pocket, but it's still looking like a really uphill battle for them here, Simon.
Yeah, I mean, it was great that they managed to pick off. Dynasty had a little screw up with their macro. When they brought all 5, they did not make sure that the waves would crash around the same time. So when they Baron empowered the top minions, unfortunately, it meant that that wave crashed a lot earlier than mid or bot wave, which meant that essentially DZ did not have to worry about any other lane except for top lane. And once that happened, DZG was able to pull the trigger, and unfortunately they did manage to lose bot inhib, but they did manage to get at least 4 kills from that fight.
Yeah, and they pick up Soul for it as well. And you know, I've been praising the Dynasty macro all game, but you have 2 teleports on your team, and if you're not going to do a 3-1-1, I understand that. At least a 4-0-1, like. If a 4-0-1 happened, you have the pressure on the bot lane, DZG can't take that fight. If they take that fight, they lose the game. Like, especially if you have Urgot sitting down there in the bot lane, just able to shove, or even Yone, right? He shreds towers. So a huge misplay, and honestly, if they end up losing the game, it's going to be because of that macro decision alone here, Silent.
Yeah, and I completely agree. This game has gotten a lot more even. With that death timers being a lot longer, I feel like the next one that wins this fight, I don't even think it'll last till Elder, to be honest.
Yeah, it definitely shouldn't. But once again, I've learned not to set too many expectations because they will all fall short. DZG now clearing out some of the minions. I don't know who's going to be the next one to pull the trigger. Anybody oversteps that it could just absolutely spell doom. Water now needs to be smart with the vision processing here. Needs one more level, honestly. One more level for the Alistar ultimate will be absolutely huge for Water here to survive just a little bit longer. But DZG don't have access to their top side of the jungle, and it's all Dynasty's playground to play. Gwen is in the bot lane, has no access to the teleport, so needs to be very careful, or DZG does, as Baron is spawning in a minute, and DZG are sitting 1 member short here. So if anybody steps forward, the fight ensues. It's going to be rough for DZG. I see Gwen continuing to push down there in the bot lane, but it's going to be really hard to shred through those super minions and also accelerate the lane. But getting the push out, giving them a little bit of leeway so they don't have to worry about the pressure in the bot lane, but still continuing to push down there. 30 seconds on Drake, and is just sitting in the bot lane brush here, Silent.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that during that last massive fight, Gwen burned that TP to just, try to flank, but it really didn't do anything. I felt like if she had it now, it would definitely make a difference because that brings her as a threat toward Baron. But I mean, she is going to chunk through those super minions, so it's going to be a test of whether or not they want to give up Baron or give up uh, these inhib. I think that's what they're trying to do.
Well, Gwen is now on the tower, and it's going to be up to the side of Dynasty here to now accelerate the tempo. Gwen will have access to the teleport in just a few moments. Technic stepping up to stop this a little bit. Gwen can still not teleport. Rendleman actually went back to answer Gwen, but it's not looking good for him. DZG now running at the lineup of Dynasty. The Tibbers goes out, the Maokai ultimate goes out, there's going to be damage going out here onto water. The Gwen teleport is now coming in. Rendleman, just kidding, that was Rendleman, interrupting the recall, but it did not go well for him. He got deleted. Spread going on a killing spree. Now Dynasty is sitting here looking in a very awkward situation. They need to recall, they need to defend their base, or Gwen is going to take it. Raptor going forward and getting a lot of damage. This is the first time we've seen DZG macro work out to their benefit. Singular Bread will fall as Raptor picks up that kill. Elicits next on the chopping block. This looks like a quick strike back from DZG. Silent, this should be the game. Teleport going down into the bot lane here as DZG are sending two members. Feathers is left to defend the world alone. Riddleman, cheeky attempt to stop the recall, but it cost him his life. It cost him his team the game. As Spread now trying to figure out what to do without minions here. Is going to wait for this minion wave, and mid lane tower will fall. It's going to be 25 seconds before Riddleman comes back up, and I don't think it will be in time. Feathers now needs to survive against all 5 members of DZG by himself, and I don't think he can do it. 1, Nexus tower falls. 2, will fall. The surprise comes in, interrupted. Nexus falls, and DZG take game 2.
That was quite an exciting game, and luckily DZG did manage to pull off the ultimate macro play that ended up finishing the game.
It looked extremely suspect, but literally all the macro in the world from Dynasty fell short, and they just made several crucial missteps in the late game and just did not know how to close that one out. That should have been their game, and DZG took that advantage that was handed to them, and they did fantastic in striking back. So, with that being said, let's take a quick look at that damage, and Sivir Koopa just literally triple almost anybody else on his team, looking extremely potent. And Annie's Derek, or Derek's Annie rather, was fundamental. But all members of DZG really putting on an equal performance in terms of the damage meters there, and really delivering in that game. It looked questionable. It looked like they should have lost. But DZG, hey, way to hang in there, way to strike back, 100%. As we're going to be heading into game 3 soon. Silent, any comments that you want to make before we get there?
It's honestly, I feel like game 3 is going to matter on whose mental holds out stronger. That was a 46-minute game, almost 50-minute. This is game 3. It's going to be whoever makes the least mental mistakes at this point.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be heading into a quick delay as we get all set up for the game 3 draft. Hang tight. We have ourselves a series. All right, everybody. Game three time. We have once again had ourselves a little bit of a side swap. Talked a little bit, just myself and Silent here, about some of the adaptations that we want to see as we see Alawi, Nyla taken away, Gwen taken away for the first time. So we will not see Spread playing that champion. Tristana taken away, and we talked a lot about not wanting to see the Sivir. So let's see if that is actually taken away here. Ban number three coming in. Pick number one could also take it away as well. And it's going to be an Orin hover for the ban. And ultimately, I want to see something locked in. Got to be the Orn locked in for the ban. So Sivir still left up. DZG have an option to first pick it, but they seem to have a lot of priority on that Zeri here, Silent. And what are some of your thoughts here now that we've seen a couple of these bans roll in?
I mean, it's definitely respectable that they thought that the Gwen needs to be banned. Essentially, that split push killed them, and we did see that adaptation with the Sivir being picked instead of being given to Dynasty.
Well, Zig's taken away, and it will be DZG, like you said, taking Sivir away. So some great adaptations there. But we are looking at a little bit of a kind of blue side story. And by that, I mean blue side always getting their ass kicked and red side winning each game. So hopefully for the side of DZG, that's not going to hold true as Jarvan Vayne coming in and completely changing the landscape of this game.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time that we've seen Koopa on anything but Sivir. So, I mean, the Vayne pick I think is really nice, especially into that Jarvan ults, and with a Cataclysm, and then Vayne condemns into that Cataclysm. So, I think it's a great combo. We'll see if he focuses mid lane or if he decides to or top lane or even bot lane.
See, all we need now is Trundle support and Talia ultimate, and then Vayne can condemn whenever the hell she wants. Wukong coming in, and I feel is a great counter to both kind of Jarvan and also Vayne. The Wukong buff, I say recently, but it happened quite a while ago. Him being able to go over walls is beneficial, but also locking in some enemies, your own teammates, with a spinning monkey is always a bad time. So good pickup there from the side of DZG as long as it's piloted correctly. And no, I'm definitely excited to see the Vayne coming in, but DCG opting to pick a tank and Silver Bolts is going to get a little bit more mileage.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a little bit of an adaptation where in the previous run we've seen support picked in both times in the second round, but this time we're seeing them pick in the first round. So obviously Dynasty is going to pick different bands. Do you think that they're going to target top or mid?
I honestly think with the way that things have gone in the last game that we're probably going to see the anti-ban like you did mention in our delay. So definitely looking to see the anti-ban. Maybe I wouldn't even worry about the Nico too much. Yes, it lined up. Whoa. Okay, a zillion coming in here that could either go mid, that could go support. But like you were saying, kind of talking about the bans, the Annie I think could definitely go. Nico wouldn't be a terrible option, but yeah, you called it. Now the giant question mark that I have silent is that mid or support for the zillion.
I believe I want to say during the scrim we did see it a mid zillion, and also with the Sivir being at the ADC, I feel like you won't get all of it, all the benefit of it mid lanes. I mean, from it being support, so I feel like it's just better mid lane, especially if Jarvan ganks. He can speed up Jarvan into the lane and ultimately get more out of it. So I feel like it's a mid zillion if I was to guess.
And the Bjergsen special coming in here as well. Second special, Cinder number one, but we do see Victor taken away, and the last ban for this side of Dynasty was the Mordekaiser, so they definitely don't want that 1v1 isolation up there in the top lane. Urgot is still left up on the map. I just don't know if they pick it without the Gwen kind of being the priority focus here. So it'll be awesome to really see a change in, both top laners coming into this game here, and we're definitely going to see one change. Syndra being taken off, denying another control mage. So that leaves DZG with, I'm sorry, that leaves Dynasty with, maybe the Zillion there in the mid lane. They might think that's support. And I just the things that you say resonate with me so strongly, and that makes a lot more sense that it's a mid. I feel like those bans might have just been wasted opportunities here, Silent.
I mean, both those opportunities prevents anyone that can really annoy Zillion early. I mean, he's got to use all his mana on double bombing the entire waves. Victor scales properly. Syndra can do that poke, and before Zillion is level 6, it just it can be really detrimental if he gets popped beforehand. So, I mean, so far, I'm not quite sure where Mundo fits in it. I think it's in top lane, to be honest, just because you could do a Mundo mid into a mage, and it's honestly the most annoying thing for any mage. But I do believe that we're seeing both solo laners picked at the moment.
Jarvan support. Let's see it. Set's going to be the answer here. Does have a lot of that, kind of true damage coming in, and just picking up a big health target and dropping it into the enemy team is always so damn satisfying. Definitely going to need some special items like a Blade of the Ruin King to really be able to handle that Mundo for sure. DZG's last pick coming in here, you think it should be the mid lane, and that means that we're actually going to see a counter pick potential if that is a support Zillion. And Talia being opted here for the side of DZG. I made the joke that seeing the Talia for the terrain manipulation was going to be interesting. I just didn't expect it to be in DZG's hands. But the DZG read might have been right. That's going to be an Azir hover, so that could very well be a Zillion support here for the side of Dynasty Jade. It might not come to full fruition here as we have 8 seconds. It's still being hovered, and that gives DZG a lot of time to respond in kind of their mental state here. But it's hovered and swapped last second to an Orianna. So that is a very Corki. Just kidding. All right, a Corki coming in here, and that gives it a lot more options for some macro manipulation with the package.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, with the way that the game is looking, they still could have probably, just for memes, they could have swung into a Rammus top, as I've seen, I think, Baus play it recently. But no, we're going for a more traditional team. Which one do you think has the leg up in this situation?
I honestly like a lot of the things that the DZG roster and kind of picks come in to bring, but ultimately I feel like just indexing into the Vayne heavily with a lot of the tools that you're giving it can be absolutely detrimental. It's easy to execute in the sense that if Vayne does well, you win, but if Vayne gets dumpstered, then it's going to be a lot harder. There is still kind of the insurance policy with a Corki, but ultimately I want to give it to the Dynasty Jade draft here, Silent. How about you?
I'm opting to go with DZG this time because if they can get these snowball leads from any of the lanes, I feel like it's going to be extremely detrimental because, yes, Dynasty Jade can scale into this game, but if DZG doesn't give him an opportunity to scale, then I feel like this game is entirely in DZG's hands.
All right, well, I think we've pretty much said all that we can say. Let's go ahead and pull up the bingo sheet real quick. All right, so a couple things. We have 3 options taken away on the top side. Aloha did die first in any game, and that was last game. Aloha is actually spread. Water dies from warding too deep. We saw that in the top lane earlier when he did not own his own jungle. DZG got aced in the first game. We're in game 3 right now. DZG got first strike last game, and Water died 4 times in the last game as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our quick status update for the bingo sheet. It's looking pretty unlikely that we'll see it actually come to fruition, but stay tuned as we'll head into spectate delay for game 3, and we'll find out if we do get bingo. All right, and we are back. Game three is underway with another five-man fan out, probably a little bit more of a dance competition here. Saver with access to the exhaust, Water with the ignite. We have a ghost exhaust in the side of Dynasty Jade. Silent, anything really grabbing your attention here?
Everything seems pretty normal. We do get to see three culls this game, as Corki has also opted for a cull as well, since he is a scaling mid laner. Both mid laners have first strike, so it's gonna be come down to who can poke who first.
Oh, a little bit of BM there as the setups were interrupted with a quick auto attack. And it's going to be business as usual, most likely, just the way these teams have been playing out. And first strike's going to be a Kim Tank. So, yeah, Kim Tank drink. So, what are you really looking for in this early game to really get the ball rolling here, Silent?
Honestly, I'm hoping to see the jungle influence one lane a lot. If they can burn Flash or any summoner early and continue just abusing it, I think he can end up snowballing his team to a win. But if he decides to opt for a scaling, I feel like Dynasty is going to pull out with the amount of scaling that they have in all their lanes, and especially if they get a carry, Zillion can make him kill that carry twice.
Absolutely. It's going to be a big, impactful tool here, as it is going to be Dynasty really indexing into Toxic Koopa's performance here, who just, if you look at the last two games, even in the loss, looked absolutely menacing. Now is going to be on a completely different identity champion here in the form of the Vayne, so I'm really interested to see how he pilots this here, Silent. But now let's take a look at just kind of the jungle pathing here. Both have started into the top side of the map, so we might see a little bit of shenanigans here on the bot side in about maybe a minute, 2 minutes here, as DZG not really getting the tempo in this lane as Zillion bombs are starting to connect. While, yes, I agree with you from the previous comment you made, ideally it's going to be some free mana for Sivir. It's going to be pretty brutal for her to optimize the spell shield to be able to do exactly what she wants. You would think that DZG ultimately will later get the priority in the lane with the push and the way Sivir should theoretically have unlimited mana, but yeah, it's going to be a big, giant waiting game to see how a lot of these things are going to pan out, as Derek getting a decent trading pattern there on the Talia and looking pretty satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the mid lane, it's going to definitely be in favor of the Talia early. Corki really doesn't have anything. He has call, he has first strike. He's not really gonna do anything other than maybe tap this Talia, but the Talia honestly should do more damage early.
Well, let's take a look at the top lane matchup. We have Set versus Mundo. Now, obviously, the Set ultimate into the Mundo and grabbing him, dropping him up onto the enemy team is always super satisfying. But how do you feel about the lane matchup itself here, Silent, for Set and Mundo?
Honestly, it should be in favor of Set. So I honestly love this matchup when I have played Mundo. I'm not seeing the Set being played the way that I had expected. I expected him to try to do autos before he uses his empowered autos with the Q. But right now, he's just being shoved in, and I'm not quite sure if that's intentional. Like, he's trying to get a gank opportunity, but he really shouldn't be taking this many cleavers or punishment from this Mundo. I feel like he should be utilizing his W when he's doing these trades.
Certainly, for sure, definitely not getting a lot of the grit there coming in for him. Farming up okay, though, does have the CS slight advantage here, but you would expect the health bars to be a little bit more satisfying. Mundo's passive doing a lot for him. Just kidding, not up that time. He gets a lot of damage there, and two more autos will do it. But Mundo's going to have to pop some potions, heal up a little bit, and DZG already starting their first of their recalls, and so is Dynasty.
Yeah, honestly, I think he missed an opportunity to get a kill with a flash W right there. Um, he, that window was definitely low enough and was definitely had some grit there.
Yeah, hitting that sweet spot on the W is definitely a sweet feeling indeed. DZG sitting at a 200 gold lead here right now. Nothing too significant and a very awkward recall. If Corky does take that one, he opted to not. So it's going to be a teleport now for Feathers burned in the top lane. Derek burned his in the mid lane, and DZG just hanging this one out and clearing some wards. And, Cloud9 ward. That makes me happy.
um, Honestly, it's gonna be interesting to see who's going to get this Drake first. Both junglers are opting for the same path; they haven't altered it at all. So eventually, it looks like both these junglers are going to meet at some point, especially if they pick the same lane to gank.
Yeah, the only difference is Wukong opted to go for 2 long swords and Jarvan picked up a pickaxe. Like, that is the only difference. Both are sitting at exactly 36. I lied because, Jarvan just got another camp, so that shifted a little bit, but pretty much dead even here for both junglers. And yeah, Dragon is going to be up on the map, but Jarvan looking a little aggressive. There is a vision ward right there. They know he's there, but he's going to be able to clear that one out and get that ward in his pocket. Both sitting at 40 CS. And Jarvan just flag drags over the wall and is looking to maybe go for his Gromp. I don't think he's going to look to push onto this dragon just yet. Bot lane taking the recalls and going to spend some of that hard-earned money, but CS in the bot lane dead even now. Sivir will be able to get a slight edge as she picks up the rest of these waves.
Yeah, with Vayne's short range, you would think that, she wouldn't be able to keep up in CS, but I think Koopa's doing a great job in managing the wave and CSing, and Zillion, with the synergy that he's offering with, throwing the bomb so that it can weaken so that way Vayne can do that last hit. I think it's just been really well played by the bot lane of Dynasty.
Yeah, definitely making up a lot for the disadvantage there on the range differential. And DZG, for the, I think, maybe second time this game, have a little bit of a shove and probably just going to walk away and take a recall here and be satisfied with the 6 CS lead. Alistar channeling his, and you have to imagine that Raptor's going to be doing the same and just taking the reset. Top lane, just very boring. Both top laners have access to the ultimates. Mid laners both have access to the ultimates. And I don't have game sound here, so I'm going to have to pay very close attention to when packages get picked up. So that is definitely going to be something to keep an ear out for, or an eye out for, and can really change the landscape of a team fight, certainly.
Yeah, and Windows kind of gotten this free opportunity to roam and kind of get awareness of, hey, where is this jungler? And I think that's giving information to Dynasty to do this, hopefully a gank into bot lane. But it looks like now he's opting for that safe dragon.
We do see the flag drag over the wall. Dragon started up from the side of Dynasty. I think this one's going to be, for the most part, uncontested. Talia is roaming down, but I don't think they're going to be able to answer this. Water is walking up. The side of Dynasty are playing very respectful. Singular in a little bit of a rough spot. The landmine wasn't there, but Water going in, getting deep. First blood being picked up by Talia. Next kill is going to be Gazillion. Vayne falls next. The Technics will just miss the knockup onto Rendleman. And DZG off the back of Water's perfect flash headbutt. Pick up 3 kills in very quick fashion.
Yeah, I mean, this is the snowball that you were looking for, and especially, it's unfortunate that Wukong got 2 of them. It would have been better, in my opinion, on this Sivir, get her a little bit of a lead. But I mean, a Wukong that does damage early, especially in their ganks, can be threatening. It's just he won't be ganking top lane.
Yeah, certainly not, but it looks like Spread and Mundo are going to be fighting here. DZG will pick up the Dragon off the back of that last play, and yeah, no, for sure. If the Wukong opts into lethality, a quick, EQ into the Vayne could absolutely just destroy Koopa. Now, Illicit's going to have access to the ultimate later, and if they had that now, it would have been a completely different fight, but Water with a well-played Alistar there was absolutely huge. Raptor taking a little bit of damage, spell shielding some of it off, getting healed a little bit back up. And I think we're back to business as usual. DZG sitting in a 2k gold lead, and Derek's just going to have to walk this one out with no mana. This is the cannon.
I'm honestly, I feel like this top lane matchup should be going completely different, but we're just looking at him take these cleavers, and I mean, we've seen, I think, maybe 1 W at this entire time, and the only time he used it was actually to get the minions to kind of stall out so that he could freeze the wave.
Well, it seems to be working for him. He's sitting at a 17 CS lead. It's not optimal, but hey, I guess if it's stupid and it works, it's not stupid. So he's sitting okay in the gold lead department, able to pick up a lot of these. Mundo is either missing or he's dodging those cleavers. Whatever story you want to tell yourself. As Set just continuing to farm up here. Talia channeling the recall in the mid lane, waiting for that first cheeky Talia wall to really change things up. Granted, I don't know if it's something you want to drop down here in the mid lane, as now both Vayne and Zillion have access to the ultimates, and I feel that really changes the dynamic of how fights will play out now. It's going to be them both taking a recall. DZG looking to interrupt. They will interrupt Koopa's recall, and feel okay farming it out with just Vayne having a slight CS advantage here.
I mean, honestly, I think if Set manages to blow Windows Flash, I think a Talia ult to top lane is worth it. But I'm not quite sure if you'd want to go down to this bot lane, because that would give this Vayne another option to condemn someone into.
Wukong going over the wall, looking aggressively up here in the top lane. Rift Herald is available for a prize. Technic's looking to go in. He's in. He pops the ultimate, does not get the knockup because of the Mundo passive. Second one will connect and will drop the suppression as Set picks him up, drops him down, and gets the kill. Feathers and Fur will fall in the top lane. Set with a kill. Set with a 30 CS advantage, and DZG 2k gold lead, and Rift Herald next in their sights.
Yeah, this snowball is definitely in favor of DZG, but Dynasty really needs to slow down the pace of this game. They really need that scaling from the Vayne to get her items, the Corki, so that, you know, he's not trying to finish his call and can actually do damage. Mundo can, he can kind of just be the front line, kind of just exist, but I feel like without the mid or ADC with items, it's just not looking good for this draft.
Sometimes you can gauge a little bit of the mental state based on some of the pings you see, and right now we're seeing in the chat that it's going to be the side of Dynasty pinging that Drake, saying, okay, let's slow it down. We want to play for this Drake next, as Koopa has pinged that twice. Alistair also pinging that once for the side of DZG means that hoping to see a little bit of a skirmish around that Drake in the next 2 minutes. Now, I really want DZG to be careful. It went well the first time, but there's a lot more different tools in the pockets of Dynasty for that fight in 2 minutes here, Silent.
Yeah, but Feathers and Fur does not have the TP, so unless he plans on walking down to this Drake, they will not have top lane.
That is absolutely correct, and Set should have his ultimate back by the time that will be a factor. DZG getting a lot of positioning here. It's a little early to kind of establish control, but getting that tri-bush warded, always a good feel, and Set just has not had pressure in this lane at any point. Does pick up the Gore Drinker for himself in the top lane. That should help him feel a little bit more comfortable, theoretically, taking some of these trades. Talked about that TP advantage, no longer there, as he was forced to use it in the top lane to get back and pick up some of these minions, as first plate will fall to the Mundo.
Yeah, I mean, this next Drake should really not happen without either top lane, but honestly, if he tries to go down, Set's going to take that turret, so Feathers and Fur should be out there.
Well, we are seeing Singular go ahead and spam out the Dragon Pings a few more times. Corki package is not available to them at this moment. Has to use the W to escape from the seismic shove. And Herald is dropped in the mid lane. DZG might have been a little early for that. You still have 2 minutes on the Drake. Could have used this as a little bit of a setup there for some of the macro and force the rotations. But we haven't really seen too much great macro from them this series anyway, so that's okay. They have hard shove in the mid lane. They do not have pressure in the bot lane, but Dragon is spawning up in 4 seconds. We have seen multiple pings up. Jarvan heading up to the top side of the map, so they might just be seeding this one completely. Seismic Shove will not connect. Derek and Riddleman hanging out in the mid lane. DZG start the Drake.
I mean, I honestly am not opposed to that Rift Herald usage. That was within under the 14 minutes, and I think that was the main concern, was that if he did not use it then, that there would not be an opportunity for him to drop that Rift Herald. So he did manage to get 2 plays for this Talia, so Talia will, you know, get a little bit more gold to put out some more damage items and eventually be a threat. That didn't really need the gold and was a little bit too far from the dragon to really drop it for him.
Set accidentally taking a little bit of tower aggro. Should be able to get another plate there with the Demolish proc coming through. DZG going to start really having access to that decent wave clear in the bot lane. Sivir now sitting on the Kraken Slayer. Vayne and Corki have both completed their Lightning Bolt item, which I have no idea what the hell that item is, to be honest with you. And just business as usual, as this series is... you know, game 3, it's been scrappy so far, but, you know, it's looking very reminiscent of game 1 here in the early game kind of tempo.
It's actually an item that you're quite familiar with. It's Static Shiv.
What the fuck is that icon? Okay, so Static Shiv being completed for both Corki and Vayne here then. I do know what that one does. Seismic Shove not connecting here, but, you know, he's looking for it. And one thing that is really satisfying for the Talia is dropping that rock minefield, as I will hold off on that point as Wukong is looping in now. He's going to be able to go in, is going to get the double knockup. Koopa should be the target here, has to flash out, the knockup coming through. We're waiting for the Zillion ultimate to come out, but I don't know if it's going to be needed. There it is, channeled now. They should not go for that kill. It's going to be Singular Bread down here. He's getting the Cataclysm, he has him locked in. Photographer Raptor will fall. DZG now looking like it has turned around completely in their disadvantage. Technics is going to be on the chopping block now. Koopa going forward, going to be taking damage, but not enough to die. Alistair pops the ultimate. ultimate and walks this one out. A quick strike back from the side of Dynasty Jade, and they turn that one around.
Honestly, I think it's another massive macro issue play. If you're looking at bot lane, you do not want to kill this ADC. You want to aim for the Zillion. Force him to use his ult on himself. You want to aim for him, not the ADC, because that means Zillion can easily proc his ult on his carry and keep him alive, especially zooming him out. Unfortunately, they focused the Vayne. Vayne did manage to actually use Zillion's ult by with I'm not quite sure if it was a minion auto or what the last tick was, but eventually got around back to half health.
Yeah, and I don't think that was lifesteal. I definitely think that was the Zillion ult for sure. Wasn't paying close attention to it. What I was paying close attention to was that Jarvan Cataclysm. It looked like Technics was just outside of it, but yet got like kind of rubber banded back into the Cataclysm. It was a very interesting interaction there, and some sort of pixelation shenanigans bullshit coming in for this game. But kind of rewinding, yes, that definitely didn't go in DZG's favor. Dynasty Jade there getting a quick strike back and evening out the gold lead to just 1k. Still looking down the barrel of a 2 Drake deficit here, and that's going to be a little bit annoying for them to deal with, as DZG definitely want to prioritize that next Drake coming in the next 2 minutes. But one thing that I was trying to talk about is that Talia, super satisfying with the rock minefield. If you're able to ever catch a Jarvan Flag and Drag or a Corki Valkyrie with those mines, they're going to take a load of damage. Talia does have the Leandries finished. Corki is sitting on that static shiv still. Or Drinker coming in for the Jarvan. And this game hopefully will start accelerating as DZG have a lot of prio in this Rift Herald spawning.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing the DZG try to force this game to snowball a little bit faster. I do think that they made a mistake with that bot lane, but hopefully now that they've recognized, Zillion is a problem, we'll try to either force him to use his ult on himself or just avoid him completely and just pick someone else that will not benefit from Zillion ult.
All right, real quick here. Thanks, Blue Otter, for the raid, and everybody welcome in. We are in Game 3 of Dynasty Jade versus Dreadzone Gaming Elysium here. And what you see is what you get. Vayne, I think, got solo gold on that first tower, so that's going to be feeling real good for the side of Dynasty Jade. Spread up in the top lane will pick up a tower as well for himself, keeping DZG just barely in the driver's seat for that gold advantage. But kind of like you've been saying all game, the set's farming really well, but the champion execution just, it seems like it's just not there, and I'm hoping to be proved wrong.
Honestly, with the 2 Drakes that have gone to DZG, it's been great so far, but I feel like with the scaling that Dynasty has at the moment, they are potentially looking to try to turn this around. They may contest this Drake. I mean, even with this Rift Herald usage, we are seeing Window, actually back up now, so potentially he might rotate toward this Drake and be early instead of Set having a TP in.
Well, Rift Herald just barely does not get the tower, but the Cannon Minion will, and Dynasty Jade lose access to the mid lane tower. Now, Jarvan looking forward, will not really want to try to go through that minefield onto Derek. Ooh, double teleport being channeled. Derek automatically flashes out. Photography Raptor try to get out as well, but will not be able to. Runeman takes him down. Now, I Need Water is sitting between a lot of members of the side of Dynasty Jade, but Technics is here in the backline, does get one of the knockups, looking for another, and Illicit Raven will be the target, and will fall. The ultimate goes out on Toxic Koopa, but now he no longer has access. Set going forward will take down Koopa. Now it's going to be Spread and Water sitting on top of Feathers and Fur, trying to get the damage, but Singular Bread is coming back into the fight. Riddleman will actually be taken down. Double kill going into the side of Spread. He gets a lot of healing back with the Gold Drinker. They're trying to take down Feathers. Now it's going to be a 2v1. Singular Bread is going to be the target. Flag and Drag over the top. Gets the double knockout and gets out cleanly. But the rest of Dynasty Jade not feeling the same, as all of them sitting in Gray Screen Graveyard. And that was a quick back and forth battle as DZG ultimately come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, the set did a great job in cleaning up the rest of that fight. Unfortunately for Dynasty, they did manage to commit all their resources, got the one that they really wanted to, but I feel like this set is a growing problem. I mean, just look at him at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. And we talked about him just not having the execution, but he did damn well. As I'll hold off on that thought, as it looks like the side of Dynasty want to contest this Drake here. We're seeing a teleport being channeled in. I think that's going to be Derek coming. Now, Alistair in the front line. They did pick up the Drake, and I think Dynasty walked this one out. DZG sitting on Soul Point at 20 minutes in has to feel damn good. do have Nash finally spawn out on the map, but you know, there's so much here to break down. We talked about Set not having a lot of value. He came in and shut me up. Awesome job for Spread coming in and getting a lot of valuation and turning that around. It looked very bad there for a little bit. But also another thing that I kind of want to criticize and maybe, well, you know, eat crow again. But the Valkyries, the packages rather, coming in from Corki have been extremely lackluster. And I think the only one I've seen used was actually in the mid lane before the Herald was dropped for wave clear silent.
I mean, there hasn't been really opportunities that he wants to use it so far. I mean, I feel like with the Wukong, with the Talia, the set, it's just a lot of interrupts. So I think he saw it as the first real time that he was able to freely use his Valkyrie. But unfortunately, he just isn't there yet. And
I don't know if we're going to see too much more out of that, but it was a great seismic shove into the landfield. Derek is now trying to accelerate this. If he just gets a little forward, uses the ultimate now, needs one more Q, will get the damage, and taken a little low, but ended up getting the shield there out of his item. So well done. Solo kill going into Derek's pocket, and Corki, I think, thought he was a lot safer than he was.
yeah, I mean, but they did get Derek's ult out. So right now they won't be able to close out the river for if they decide to do this Baron as they intend. I feel like Grendelman still potentially will have time to get. They don't exactly burn this Baron that quickly.
Well, he has no access to the package at the base, so DZG just taking this one down. It's looking like Dynasty are setting up to contest, but without the Corki, it's going to be a little bit of a doom and gloom situation for them. Spread is here, Nash falls, and now it's going to be Feathers and Fur taking a lot of damage here. He's going to die a little slowly, but now it's going to be Raptor sitting on top of him. Damage coming out, Spread is on a rampage. DZG looking to accelerate this a little bit more, but Technics cannot get in range. Great pickup there from the side of DZG, sitting at a 4K lead, sitting at Soul Point. They have Baron in their pockets, and cards are showing DZG right now.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, if DZG manages to snowball these lanes, they will have an opportunity to close out the game before the scaling of Dynasty takes into effect.
And it's looking like that's going to be a case. Now, there are still some pain points here for the side of DZG to be very cautious around. Illicit will have access to the level 2 ultimate, and that does change the landscape of his ultimate utilization a decent amount. But Toxic Koopa is sitting at 1 and 2. 10 CS deficit, not really that menacing of a vein, especially when you look at the lineup of DZG. Now, DZG have also navigated the Zillion Ultimate quite well in the last fight, and we're hoping that's going to continue to be a trend. But there are still potential tools. There is still the potential scaling of Dynasty to really strike back in this game. It's not over for them at all.
Not at all. We are seeing a spread out of DZG trying to get all the points down so that way it forces Dynasty to react to all the side lanes. I honestly, the lane to focus more on is where Set is, because I honestly think he is the biggest threat that DZG has.
Well, DZG have access to both of their teleports, and so do the side of Dynasty Jade. So I really valued their at least attempt for what they did in the bot lane jungle, and 2 team fights ago with the double teleport play. It looked nice. The execution fizzled out a little bit in their ability to get what they wanted and then get out. But DZG really accelerating the tempo in this one, really looking to shove here into this mid lane. Nobody went back for the minions just yet, so they're going to have to wait for them to crash. But Set has pressure in the bot lane. Talia is rotating around, has access to the Talia wall, but not really angled in any way, shape, or form to be able to do so. And it looks just like a simple 0-4-1 siege here, and completely answered by the side of Dynasty as Spread's taking a lot of poke damage. And honestly, I don't think anything's going to come of this, Silent. The wave clear is pretty decent. On the side of Dynasty Jade, Set's not really able to do anything versus the Corki, and it's kind of just a little bit of a macro flop for sure.
Yeah, I feel like they could have utilized the Baron a little bit better, but essentially all they're trying to do is get priority on this Drake. They care more about getting Soul, so it's not bad, but it's not great.
Well, a lot of poke going out onto Feathers and Fur. He has to pop the Mundo ultimate. Will not be available here in the next 20 seconds if Drake fight happens. But Corki coming in has access to the package, and this might be the first beneficial use that we've really seen. Now the kind of shove is going over, and Valkyrie over the top. Photography is going to be the target. He has to flash immediately, taken very low. Technics on the front line looking to fight. Draven goes over the top of the flag and drag. Cataclysm on a rampage as Sivir will fall. Spread sitting in between 4 members of the enemy team here. Does pop the ultimate, trying to take Koopa down. Koopa will actually get the Zillion ultimate now. DZG is just falling to pieces here as they have 2 members dead. Water's going to be the next one to fall. Koopa is going to take down Water, and it's going to be Technics taking a lot of damage. He's forced to run out. Derek will fall. Technics running away, and this should be the soul denied from the side of DZG and going into the pockets of Dynasty Jade.
Yeah, DZG did such a good job early of, getting the priority, getting everything done, and then all of a sudden they just managed to split up their focus. Set said, hey, I think I can 1v5. He unfortunately could not even 1v4. They managed to kite him perfectly out, and it ended up with Raptor kind of being the one that died from that Corki poke.
And, we saw a lot of the corrections that we wanted to see in this game. Like, things looked a lot better. I was like, nice, DZG doing what they need to do, fixing a lot of the mistakes. And then all you see is Spread sitting in the member of the entirety of Dynasty Jade going, what's up, boys? I'm one of you. It's like that, the meme of how do you do, fellow kids? It's definitely not looking good for them if they keep indexing into that same mistake. But, I talked about Riddleman picking up the package for the first time, and he instantly used it in beneficial fashion. This team comp was really centered around Raptor being able to do things, and they deleted Raptor from the game quite fast.
Well, I mean, there's multiple threats on. I don't think that Raptor in this situation is the only threat. I feel like the Talia, the Set are threats. The Wukong is a threat. So honestly, deleting Raptor is, I mean, unfortunately a lot to their range damage, but I don't think it's the end-all be-all damage. I mean, unfortunately, similar with the Toxic Koopa, I feel like with Koopa, he is the threat. With Rendleman, he is the threat. No one else really is a threat on Dynasty's team.
Yeah, and, it's also up to DZG for not identifying the angle or being able to punish that correctly as well. Like, Corki went deep. Yes, he has a second Valkyrie to be able to get out, and he opted to do something very risky. And, you're absolutely right. No and 2 Sivir, are you really too scared about that? But DZG just reacted extremely poorly. They weren't able to delete Rendleman, make him pay for the mistake. Granted, the rest of the side of Dynasty Jade, I feel, really reacted well and gave him kind of an avenue to get out. And then Set just, doing his best Dynasty Jade cosplay in the middle of the team, it just fizzled out so poorly.
And Corki's finished his Luden, so now with his entire Static Shiv, the Maramuna, he's literally got enough to shove the wave and do poke. So he's going to be a big threat to be looking forward to now.
Well, Raptor once again being the target. He's step 2 forward. Jarvan Cataclysm will attack him in, and Riddleman picking up the kill there. The teleport coming in from Feathers and Fur. Technics is taking a lot of damage. Pops the Wukong ultimate, and that is a lot of damage coming in. I think that was somebody picked up and dropped into the team. The health bars of Dynasty Jade all sitting low. Double kill going on to the Mundo. It's going to be another kill. Jarvan, Vayne, fall. The only one alive is Riddleman, and not for long as Talia pops off and will get the kill. DZG now set their sights onto a Baron after an almost clean ace. Raptor, sacrificial lamb, but hey, it worked out. DZG, 5 kills. DZG, Baron, and DZG, 4K gold lead.
Yeah, that Set was a huge threat. Dynasty unfortunately forgot that he existed until he dropped into the middle of him and deleted half the H-bar of half of their team.
Yeah, I think, what's that, a Mundo pickup into the enemy team, and his health just, absolutely acted as, a nuclear bomb on the side of Dynasty Jade. It's not China, but, it's a Japanese cosplay. We're going back to 1944, everybody.
It was a great pick by Dynasty, though. They did get Raptor, but I think that as soon as they picked off Raptor, they need to retreat. They honestly just need, hey, we got this pick, great. Let's focus on the rest of this macro and just continue. They forgot. They said, hey, we're committing these resources. I think because now it's 4v5, we're gonna win this, or rather 5v4. But unfortunately, DZG was able to turn it with that Set.
Yeah, it's, you see the 80 carry and you're like, oh, we pick him, we win the fight. But it's once again an 0-4 now. Sivir, like, the valuation isn't really there. Sivir is essentially just an R button for your team comp right now. And that's what you need to look at from an adversarialist perspective. Technics going in deep into 3 members of the side of Dynasty Jade here. Talia coming in over the top to join in. I don't know what that was, but even if you have Derek come in, it's what kind of valuation are you going in? 36 seconds on the Drake, and your jungle's now dead for the fight.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like mid and jungle were just not on the same page. I feel like I just can picture Technic saying, "Hey, are you ready to ult?" And Derek saying, "Yeah, I'm good," and just not managing to get the timers correctly. But it does look like it's another Drake that goes in favor of Dynasty at the moment.
Same page, my ass, Silent. I think that Technics was reading a completely different book as he went in and just even if Derek was right there with the damage profile, like it's still not an optimal path. You don't need to go for anything that risky. Yes, cool, you might have gotten one or two out of that, but like I don't think you ultimately leave unscathed. And the objective bounty going in, second Drake unanswered, goes into Dynasty Jade's pocket, and DZG with great looks prior to this, sitting at a huge gold lead. You should never lose anything at that state of the game.
I think that the only time you can have the confidence to run at people is if that set is right behind you. I think with anything else, don't even bother.
100%.
So, but hopefully we're gonna see some smarter macro plays by DZG, and hopefully they can close out this game before Dynasty picks up another Drake.
It might have been like one of those moments where you don't understand where your team's damage is coming from. Like, you look at that last fight and, Wukong goes in, all the enemy team, all their health bars immediately evaporate, and you're like, I'm big as fuck, boys. What you don't realize that it was just Set picking up a Mundo and, atomic bombing the ever-loving hell out of Dynasty. Maybe that's what it was. It goes in and he's like, this is not going at all like I expected. Technics being a little smart with the bomb pathing there, trying not to blow up his team. Draven looking for the flag and drag cataclysm here. DZG kind of sitting at a pseudo 4-1 split. Derek actually coming into the bot side jungle, and we're back to the NA RAM.
I really had hoped, that someone would continue the split push threat. No one can really answer this set, so if you leave him on a side lane, they will have to bring two to him. I don't see anyone able to just 1v1 him. So I really want to see a smarter macro play.
Well, smart macro plays is not something that we've been getting this series. Every single Baron that I've seen this game has been completely, or this series has been completely underutilized. Almost at every single point. DZG's smart, cheeky move in game 2 to draw them away was the only time I've seen Baron played around correctly, to be honest. But it's going to be fizzling out here relatively soon. 2 minutes on the next Baron, 3 minutes on the next Drake, and I honestly, at this point in this series, Silent, I have no idea what to expect, because every time I've had expectations, I've pretty much just gone, yep, that's completely not what I expected. So it's a series, we'll say that.
It looks like a repeat of game 2. We do not know who will end up with the W at the end of this series, but I mean, it's honestly great content for a great game.
It's set up well. I don't know if the word great can be utilized here for sure, but honestly, you look at the gold, you look at the way the things have been going, this should be DZG's game to win or lose, and it's completely up to them. They just have to make the right decisions, and I'm hoping they do. As Vayne, sitting decently strong, has access to the Bork, has access, Bork, the Guinsus, and the Ludens. I'm sorry, not the Ludens. Damn, I'm struggling. The Static Shiv. The Ludens coming in for the Corki with the Mirror Mana and the Static Shiv as well. Jarvan has the Gore Drinker and sitting decently strong-ish. Photography Raptor is literally just there as bait, I feel like. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we just wait for the Drake, and that's when we get the next fight.
Well, I mean, he's not just bait. He's honestly the wave clear of DZG at the moment. He's honestly soaking up all the mid lane waves and has continuously shoved in the waves. But, I mean, we are looking at a minute and 30 before this next Drake. Baron as well, under 30. So I feel like we could either see both teams try for one or the other, or, one team loses one fight and the other team gets both, or, the game ends, just because it is getting to that point where timers are going to be of concern.
I made the joke game 2, and it seems like DZG is kind of taking the joke to reality of just set your 80 carry in the mid lane and have them dance, and they will come. And they tried, it's just they did not opt for it. DZG bringing in the teleport here, the vision will come out and be instantly denied, so The side of Dynasty may have suspicions that this is happening, but it's getting absolutely shredded here. DZG with a very strong Baron take and just shredding through it. It's going to be uncontested. Now, Feathers and Fur on the backside of the pit, and Alistair is just going to take the Hex Gate out. Now, DZG have the Baron. They have the stats. They should be able to establish the waves, but Dragon is coming up in 30 seconds, and they've ceded all pressure over to the side of Dynasty Jade for it. Now, it's going to be DZG needing to reestablish vision control of this spot side of the map, and it's going to be just them walking in. Toxic Koopa's going to be just hauling ass trying to get out. Cataclysm goes down. Set picks up, drops down. It's not that much damage, but it's good enough. Wukong going in over the top. Koopa will fall. The Resurrection coming out onto, I think that's going to be Illicit Raven. It was. He self-ulted, and then he will self-die. Derek gets his kill. DZG going to be hopping onto this Drake real quick and picking this one up. Corky is sitting back at base, and I can't tell if he picked up the... no, he did not. Singular looking to get in here, and he's just... What did I say about the Talia Minefield and a Jarvan Flag and Drag? That was satisfying to watch, unless your name is Jarvan 4. He got deleted, and now DZG have 3 members of the enemy team dead, all of them alive. They have Baron, they have the Soul. What are they going to do with it now? And the answer is send a couple people bot side and pick up a tower.
Yeah, I mean, DZG definitely benefited from that fight, but I feel like there was an opportunity. Hey, you have Baron. Why not just end the game and force them to say, hey, you can either have this Drake or you can have your base?
Because they wanted me to talk for as long as possible. Now it's going to be Talia going forward, forcing the flash out of Rendleman here. Corky is now not having access to that flash. DZG breaking to the bases. Dynasty Jade for the first time, and they are going to walk this one.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if this is the most optimal usage of this Baron yet again. Although I do say that they did manage to get Illicit to use his Zillion ult on himself instead of Koopa, who honestly could have probably benefited more from it and potentially survived if he got that extra assistance.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about the Cataclysm being really nice there for the side. Well, just the tool itself in the draft being really nice for the side of Dynasty. But Set said, all right, you know what? I'm not really liking this pool party here in the river, so I'm just going to pick you out and take you down. Now, granted, the Jarvan being dropped on the enemy team was a lot less beneficial, but it still did a lot of work. In DZG, instead of a 4-1 or a 1-4, they're looking to set up a 5-man mid.
Well, I mean, they honestly have the poke to do it. Hopefully this time they get this and just, continue. It looks like they're collecting all the turrets.
Yeah, well, Set gets stunned, but damage quickly goes back on the Feathers, and Fur Raptor picks up that kill. Singular trying to get out of here with a Flag and Drag. He's going to be focused up. Technics pops the ultimate, not going to be able to get anything. But Koopa gets deleted. The ultimate now coming out from Illicit, going on to Singular. Either that was an ultimate or it was just a Guardian Angel. I think that was the ultimate. So, one tower falls. Second tower is about to fall, and DZG, it looks sloppy, but hey, dubs are dubs. As that Nexus will fall. DZG take the series 2-1. Man, that was something to watch, man. That was something to watch. So, great adaptations ultimately from the side of DZG. There was still a lot of the signature errors that they made in games 1 and 2 really showing up in game 3 here, Silent. But ultimately, at the end of the day, there's a lot to be coached. There's a lot to learn from that. And as long as you're getting the wins and as long as you're learning from the mistakes that you win, even if it is a win, that's ultimately what matters in this scene, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and it looked like taking that Sivir away from Koopa definitely made a huge impact. I mean, just look at the damage right now. Even though Raptor really was like, I believe he was like 0-4 at one point, he managed to keep roughly the same amount of damage as Koopa on that vein. There wasn't really much of a threat from bot lane, especially just like the set damage. Corky was good at poking, but just, they couldn't delete this set.
Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, a dub is a dub is a dub. We take those. It wasn't clean, it wasn't pretty, but it was at least entertaining. I'll say that. But stay tuned for tomorrow night as DZG Olympus will be taking on another match. And I don't know if it will be streamed, but definitely stick around in the viewer lounge, hang out, and hopefully more DZG or dubs are in the cards for our future. But thank you again, Silent Elements, for an awesome cast. It was a little longer than we wanted, but as always, it's a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, good night.